Yo, yo, A2HH Live on a Wednesday. We here. Mike D. Coop. What's good, Coop? How you doing, brother?
What's good?
Oh, not much, man. We got a whole lot to talk about today. We're going to cover everything from currency to Dr. Dre getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I feel like I need to adjust my mic a little bit, studio flow and all of that. First things first, I want to talk Big Three. Are you following anything with the Big Three?
I haven't this week.
Okay, well, they're 2 games in.
So update me, yeah.
Yeah, they're 2 games in. What I see right now is Jason Richardson is he's the leading scorer in the league. So what I want to do, man, I know you and I be keeping up with, basketball. I think if we could start our shows talking some Big Three stuff, especially since Ice Cube is the owner of the Big Three, it just makes sense. And that gives them some sports talk to have, in the interim.
Like the Big Three talk?
Yeah.
Do have some slight NBA talk, but it's more of a piggyback talk.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead with the NBA talk real quick.
I don't get to watch much TV, but I watched First Take a couple of days ago. It might have been yesterday. I'm not even sure. All the days been running together, as usual.
Right.
Here. As usual over here.
Per
days
usual.
are running together. But they did a category about, which athlete reminds you of which MC.
Ah, yeah.
And then they did who is the Michael Jordan of hip hop. So I'm going to give you some of the athlete rapper comparisons that they gave. And I want your thoughts on those things.
Okay.
That's if you're done with the Big Three talk.
No.
I want to give Ice Cube.
No, I am. We're early in that season. I just wanted to let people know that we're going to start keeping up with some of the Big Three stuff in the stats and everything. But yeah, go ahead.
What do you think about the Lamar Jackson Eminem comparison?
Why are they comparing Lamar Jackson with Eminem?
I wrote notes because I knew you were going to say that. Not your typical for what they do, and often doubted by naysayers.
Who's doubted Lamar Jackson, really? Anybody who really knows what it is. You know what I mean?
Mike.
I remember watching him in Louisville.
Mike, most of the white establishment in the NFL tried to make this guy into a running back or wide receiver, including Bill Polian, who is literally built out Super Bowl winning and contending franchises. He is arguably one of the top 5 GMs of the last 30, 40 years, and he thought this guy wasn't even going to be viable as a quarterback, let alone be an MVP. So he has plenty of naysayers.
What I will say, if you want to say that...
and it's because of his skin color that they feel this way, much like Eminem.
Well, all right, this is what I'll say. I think that obviously skin color is always a factor, right? But I'm going to go and be consistent where I am normally with Eminem as it, pertains to him and his music. I think that the style of play that Lamar puts out there on the field isn't something that game planners and, the people who got the headsets on really want to plan for. And I give Baltimore props for actually centering their team around his skill set. And I think that there is a correlation between what Dre and Jimmy Iovine were able to do with Eminem and tailor their expertise around what Eminem does well. So I'm okay with that comparison in that light. But I don't like the fact of trying to make, Eminem feel marginalized for being white. He sold a bunch of records because he's white. There's some, benefits to it as well. So it wasn't all bad. I think it's all bad for Lamar.
That's fair. Well, that's fair. That's kind of how, the systemic and institutional racism is set up. Another conversation for another day. I found this one to be fascinating. Tim Duncan and Nas.
Why Nas and Tim Duncan?
Fundamentally sound and often overlooked because the person that brought that up then compared Kobe to Jay-Z. As in, same time, same amount of rings, but kind of done different and kind of done more on a solo mission. Because I've always told you this, Mike. I have Tim Duncan ahead of Kobe and Shaq.
I'm not mad at that.
Because Kobe and Shaq had Kobe and Shaq for 3 of those rings.
Yeah.
One got 4, one got 5. Don't Tim got 5?
Tim got 5.
Did he ever play with a Kobe or a Shaq?
No, he didn't.
Better.
But he had a Popovich, though.
Better. No, they had Phil.
And they had Phil Jackson.
They had Phil.
Yeah.
No hall passes. Kobe had Phil the entirety of the time.
That's true. No, I'll give you that. I just think that
But I like the fundamentally sound thing because the thing that Nas does great is the fundamental hip hop things.
What I don't like about that though, it
The
makes
boring
it
part?
feel like like Nas is boring or something.
But wasn't that your critique of him in the midstream of his career though?
I would say that stuff was anticlimactic, but Tim Duncan doesn't have the Nas's like moments though. You know what I mean? Like Tim Duncan is fundamentally sound through and through.
I hear you because Nas has Barry Sanders, Deion
Yeah.
Sanders type
Nas
of
has moments where you're like, even if you do find some of his stuff, you know what I'm saying, not as climatic as others, he does have those climatic moments that we can't sit there and say, yo, I remember that game when Tim put up 50.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No,
like,
he has Barry Sanders type of runs on songs
Yeah.
where it's like, did you just watch him run for 60 yards? Yeah.
Okay, we talked about Kobe. I would say that
What do you think about the Kobe J thing?
I think Wayne is more of a Kobe.
Wayne actually is the next one we're going to. It was Wayne and LeBron that got bought up.
No.
But listen, no, because I like this comparison. Both have been viable and relevant since their teens.
That's fine, but you can say the same thing about Kobe. Listen, let's keep it a buck. It's more correlated with Kobe and Wayne than it is LeBron. LeBron was a fucking superstar at his teens. Wayne was not. Let's not rewrite history.
That's fair. Wayne had to work his way like Kobe.
Wayne didn't become that guy until the Carter.
No, Wayne worked like Kobe.
Exactly. So I like the Kobe and Wayne a little bit more.
Okay.
What's the other one they got?
Well, people compared, obviously, when he went to Michael Jordan. Everybody went J, and one person went Rakim. So we had one Rakim and three J's.
This is why I would give Jay-Z the Michael Jordan.
People bought it up because of the business aspect and the behind-the-scenes stuff.
That too. Well, this is the thing about Jay. And I would pick Jay over Rakim in this sense because, as far as the Michael Jordan comparison. Because more so than all the other guys, Jay wanted to be the best. Michael wanted to be the best. I felt like with Rakim and Nas, those guys were just doing their thing. And I think over time, it just accumulated to the fact that Nas became the best. Jay's whole mission out here was to win at every stop. That's Michael Jordan.
So I think you're talking about competitive fervor in nature. Here's where I don't agree with that sentiment. No, Michael Jordan, like a young Michael Jordan, came into the league averaging 28 points a game. As in, he walked into the game, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
The Jay-Z people talk about, he didn't walk in that way.
That's fair.
And so it's not the same thing. And that does matter because when you pull up highest point per game average for a rookie season,
28 points a game.
Yeah, go Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan. And it goes that way for a reason.
It's a couple more people, but it's like in there.
No, not for a first season.
Nah, I think Jordan's like fourth or something. Somebody just posted that stat.
Is it fourth?
Yeah, something like that. But
Right,
it's like
it might
the
be
Elgin
like
Baylor and guys like that.
Yeah, it's like guys who played in a different era where there wasn't a shot
But from
clock.
1976 on is Jordan.
Well, that's easy. As a matter of fact, he's the only person I think other than
Hakeem is not Hakeem, but Kareem is ahead of him too, rookie season.
I think it's about the same rookie season, though. Like,
Yeah,
if
it's
it's by
something
tenths of a point, and we're talking about a 7'2" guy versus a 6'6" guy without a jump shot.
Right.
So
it's from a guard position, though. I'm sure he's number one.
I mean, from a guard position, it's just him and Iverson, really.
Or
as far
probably
as
Elgin
year.
Baylor or something like that.
Elgin Baylor's a small forward. Elgin Baylor like 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But with the J comparison, they brought up the J thing because of how transcendent Michael Jordan was off the court as well. And that's where I thought the J correlation was very, 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 very valid. If we're talking about peak performance, I still don't feel that way. But if we want to talk about cumulative package, yeah, I could totally see that.
I think thriving in an era where he was kind of targeted and he thrived in that, that's very Michael Jordan-like.
He wasn't. Who was targeted?
No, during that blueprint era where, you know what I'm saying, you had
Was he targeted or was he throwing shade, Mike?
He was doing both.
Right. So
but he wasn't ducking
targeted.
anything. He had the whole prodigy thing. These are heavyweights. You know what I mean?
No, see, this is what I'm saying. Is he ducking something or is it valid? Because when Prodigy was saying what he said, it's not like he said something invalid.
No.
He was right. He didn't say now the tonality of it might not have been progressive and proactive towards keeping things peaceful, but he was right when it was going on. If you really want to know the truth, and we're going to talk about this because I know we're going to talk about It Was Written's 27th anniversary.
Yep.
Well, the Queens dudes was the only dudes that took shots, and that's Nas on The Message and Mobb Deep and Capone and Noriega on LALA. Rest of them dudes was quiet,
It's true.
including with the bar work. So
CJ
it's not
Kidd
like
with
the
a super
shots,
chat.
you know.
CJ Kidd got a super chat. He says, it's also the anniversary of De La Soul's Stakes is High, since that It Was Written came out on the same day. That and It Was Written came out on the same day, for sure.
It's a great
We'll
day.
talk about that too. CJ Kidd also said, Big Gip still taking shots at Jay out here. The Jay subliminals are coming real soon. The same way Pusha let Jim talk until Pusha barred him out, calling it. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, Mike D, mission accomplished. All your 3,000 talking points. Now the other man takes those points, makes videos about 3,000, and won't say his name on your platform. I don't know what that means.
What is he talking about?
But okay.
What is he talking about?
I don't know what that means. What did we miss, Eric
I'm about
Terrell?
to say, did we miss something?
What did we miss?
missing something?
First of all, I want to say this.
You know, you're supposed to be the producer. You're not keeping up with these things.
I don't know what this is.
Absurd.
I've been doing research all day, but you know, at the end of the day, I love
ain't been doing
3,000.
I ain't been researching.
I love 3,000. But yeah,
You know,
elaborate on that a little bit more, Eric Terrell.
I actually want to say this too. You know that there's a legion of people out here who love him so much that they feel like we're actually attacking this man.
Yeah, I know.
No, like they.
I love him more than they do.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you have a lot of nerve telling me that I'm attacking somebody who I know I love
Yeah.
and more familiar with their catalog than you are.
I'm just being honest. Like
one
I'd be
guy-
honest about anybody.
Look here. One guy tried to pull up on me on Twitter and talk about how Organized Noise produced AT-Aliens. I'm like, no, fam, they just co-produced. He's like, well, they produced most of it. I'm like, well, Outkast actually produced Elevators.
They did.
And AT-Aliens and Over the Woods and Extraterrestrial.
Did they do Over the Woods too?
Yes.
Yeah, I know they did
That's what I mean.
Extraterrestrial.
So if
Yeah.
you look, and Wheels of Steel. So if you actually look at it, they did 3 of the 4 singles, and they did maybe the most street record on the album outside of 2 Dope Boys. It's
Yeah.
like, no, that sound like Outkast got a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, fam didn't know that I knew it like that. But I'm like, fam, I'm from here. I'm trying to tell
That's
you.
common knowledge here.
That's common knowledge down here
Yeah.
that they made the singles on AT-Aliens.
And that was a big part of Outkast being able to dictate their own sound moving forward.
They bought
too.
their own studio. They
Mhm.
didn't record AT-Aliens in the dungeon. A lot of people forget that part.
They actually did that at Patchwork.
Correct.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
they ended up buying, which used to be Bobby Brown's old recording home.
No. That's
That's Stankonia.
yeah, that's Stankonia. Patchwork's over there by the McDonald's or whatever on Northside Drive.
Right
Stankonia's
on
a
the
little
other
further
side.
down.
Stankonia's further
Yeah,
down.
but they did a Kumani there.
Right.
And that was before it was
Right.
Stankonia.
They
Yep.
did a Quemini there before it was Stankonia
Yeah,
Studios. Correct.
Patchwork I think was the first time that they,
We've
you know,
been
like
in
you said.
Patchwork. You probably been in Patchwork
Yeah, I've been
too.
in Patchwork. I never
Right.
recorded in Patchwork, but I've been there for like meetings and
I
stuff
never
like that.
recorded, but I had some other cats I was with that had some sessions in there.
Jeezy was really big with Patchwork. Patchwork was a big part of Jeezy's career, you know what I'm saying, early on. He did a lot of his early stuff there. I think that's where he came together with Boys in the Hood.
Right.
And they did, you know what I'm saying, them
So
boys
look,
and all that.
So look, fam was like, when we talking New York stuff, he's like, do you stand down when you talking New York stuff? I was like, people run to me all the time and tell me Rakim's better than Nas. Like, to my face, fam.
I love Rakim.
And give me, and I brought up you, Mike. I was like, do you understand? I get whole dissertations from Mike D about why he thinks Rakim is still better.
I feel like Rakim's the greatest lyricist ever. Now, if we want to talk about a correlation with sports, Rakim's Wilt Chamberlain to me.
I like that.
You know, I mean, he's just
like
so
that.
early on and so far ahead of everybody.
The numbers
like-
he's putting on the board
Yeah.
at the time he's putting them on the board,
Yeah.
it don't make sense.
and he's like off in a space of his own. What were some of those other correlations? they
Wilt's
did?
not in a space of his own, though. Bill Russell does exist. He's not in
Yeah.
a space of his own.
No, I'm just talking
He
about from his individual statistics.
Right.
You
It's
know
the
what I
numbers
mean?
he's putting
Like,
up. No, those were most of the comparisons. It was.
I don't know who to compare to LeBron after saying all that, actually. I mean, because I would give Jordan to Mike. I mean, I'm sorry. I'll give Jordan to Jay, right?
Right.
I'm a reserve.
What
I don't know where Nas
You
is
didn't like the
going.
Nas Tim Duncan thing, so
I don't like
find,
the Nas
so
Tim
find a
Duncan.
pairing.
Who could I find for Nas, man? What do y'all think out here?
Because here's the thing.
Who do you
that
think?
You know what I thought about? I actually thought about the title of one of his best albums. I thought Magic, because here's why.
I was thinking Magic. That was
Here's
one of
why.
my people.
Magic is the only player that I ever saw, Jason Kidd briefly, that could control and run a whole game and be the best player on the floor without scoring. As in, he could have 10 points and dominate the game, because his talents were so supreme at all the things. And so if you were to correlate that to what this means and look at the sales of who he's compared to, it's like, well, his numbers, much like Magic's numbers, outside of the assists, they don't look like, but if you saw the guy play.
Well, you know what? I'm okay with that. You know who I got as LeBron, though.
Right.
I thought about it.
Think about this, though. People forget this. There was a time before Mike ascended to where he ascended to that the conversation was between Magic, Kareem, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain and Larry Bird for who the greatest player of all time was.
Straight up.
And so that's kind of maybe where he most lies, because much like Magic, he does things that, well, quite frankly, we haven't seen anybody else do. And so that's where he's most like actually Magic.
He changed the game, too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That
Illmatic changed the game, much like Magic being a 6'9" point guard.
Yeah.
Stylistically speaking, like
I like that.
He bought rhymes back. Enter the Wu-Tang and Illmatic is what bought the East Coast back and bought lyrics and rhymes back. And so much like Bird and Magic bought, basketball back in Forever Link, it's kind of like when you see Nas on tour with Wu-Tang, 25, 26, 27, 30 years later, it's like, well, they bought the East Coast back together.
We got football in here, though, right? So I'm going Tom Brady.
No, this was all basketball.
I thought they did a Lamar Jackson for Eminem.
Oh, I guess they did do Lamar. I forgot about that. So who?
I'm going Tom Brady, like we said. That Tampa Bay championship is like what this KD thing is.
Great early with the team.
Yep.
Great late, great in the middle by himself.
Yeah,
I could see that.
LeBron, I got Kanye West.
You just gonna find a way to bring Kanye.
I gotta bring Kanye in it. He's one of the greats, and the fact that he's able to do everything well, that's very LeBron-ish. You know what I mean? Him being a producer is the assist. Him being able to be a solo artist and a superstar in that light, that's his scoring ability. He's able to do everything from a straight line. I mean, and him collaborating with Wade, Kyrie, or whoever, that's him collaborating with Common, Push, Jay. Just saying. Makes sense, right? It makes sense. Yep. Somebody said Nas is Tom Brady.
I don't have the strength. I don't have the strength to argue with you about that. I'm cool with the Nas Tom Brady thing. Mm-hmm. It's just, here's the thing. Nas as a teenager was a phenom and prodigy and talent. Tom Brady is not that. That's why I bring up Magic. No, much like Nas, Magic been the man pretty much since he picked up a ball.
Yeah.
Much like Nas been the man since he picked up a microphone. You want to know why people don't talk about like who Magic Johnson was because he's actually scrunched between Kareem and Shaq in terms of like the notoriety of somebody coming out of high school, because we notarize the big men. People forget Magic coming out, like that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like Magic's a thing.
No, Magic's the truth. And you know what? And I'm not gonna go there.
And if I had to pick, and here's the thing: when I have LeBron ahead of Magic, but that's more about accomplishments and duration.
Yeah.
Oh, if I got a game, because here's where Nas and Magic are alike too. They're both killers, and you forget that they're killers.
Yep.
You forget that they're killers. No, Magic want blood in a way LeBron don't.
Yeah.
Rookies don't put up 42, 15, and 7 unless they are killers inside.
Magic was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, because he had to go up against another killer head up and Larry Bird.
Consistently.
Yes.
Even
in college. CJ Kidd with a super chat says, on a recent podcast, Gip put Andre greater than Jay because he said Dre came in selling platinum, whereas Jay had to work up to that. Like, really? Well, the thing is, man, I respect Gip. I love Gip, and hopefully we'll have Gip here to talk about this thing. Jay did it as an individual, whereas Big Boy and Dre did it as a collective. Outkast is a collective. Two separate things.
Not totally. I'm somewhere in the middle, and I'll tell you why. What's the first two singles on Reasonable Doubt?
The first two singles were Ain't No Nigga and Dead Presidents was the first single.
Okay.
Right? Dead Presidents and Ain't No Nigga, I believe.
Right. So I thought Ain't No Nigga was the first single.
Oh, it could have been. I think Dead Presidents went first, but we can Google check
and when
that.
the Can't Knock the Hustle came out?
I feel like that was third, and I feel like Feeling It was like after that.
Feeling It?
Yeah.
And they had Brooklyn's Finest for Big? Like, he had more.
I didn't know that was a single.
He had help going gold.
Oh, he did have help.
Like, Getting Married, a single hook in 96 ain't like. That ain't.
And I want to be fair though. They were on priority.
That ain't.
You know what I'm saying?
That like ain't eggs and grits for breakfast, Mike. That ain't no cheap breakfast.
I feel you, but being on priority is a lot different than being on LaFace/Arista in 1994. It is. 94 and 96, right? Respectfully.
Does LaFace have some sort of rap A&R or thing
No.
going on that you're privy to in 1994?
No, and they were actually the door openers there, but they actually had the money, though.
Priority had Ice Cube and Master P prior to lay a blueprint and a foundation.
I think Master P was after Jay and them,
after?
around the same time, but they had Cube. What Priority was doing, they made you do a lot of the marketing. And that's what set them apart from, you know, they were kind of the Koch of their day. You know what I'm saying? Where it was like, that's why they were able to give such a better split to people like P and Q.
Here's where I'm somewhere in the middle. Reasonable Doubt. I would tell you is a better album than Southern Playalistic. Even objectively speaking.
Objectively speaking, I agree.
Personally going to play Southern Playalistic more. Objectively, Reasonable Doubt. But organically speaking, Outkast went platinum being Outkast. As in, they didn't need Mary singing no hook.
They didn't need no big
Foxy doing no verse. They don't need to take no sample.
They didn't need TLC or
don't need
Tony Braxton.
And they had that at their accessibility and didn't use it. Like, how about this? It's like, think about the intro to A2HH. It's like, well, they could have used a lot of people. They used Joy.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
And so if you look at what Outkast did coming from the South at the time that they did.
It's very impressive.
And going platinum. Organically going platinum. As in no big names, no samples. On ATLians, Big Boy often talked about how they intentionally didn't sample.
Hold on. Is Raekwon the first outside feature on an Outkast album?
Easy, yes.
Okay, so it's kind of like Wu-Tang with, you know, Nas and, you know,
Very
Only Built for Cuban Links.
Very Wu-Tangish. Don't nobody get into the third project.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah, and that's fair because on Reasonable Doubt, like you said, you got Mary, you got Foxy, you got Big.
That's a lot.
I mean? That's a lot.
That's 96.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Stop acting like that ain't a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Like when you read the Outkast lineup now and it's like, oh, well, CeeLo, Big Gip.
Yeah.
It's like, it means something now. They mean shit in 94.
No, you got to buy into the group.
Who are these country niggas?
Yeah, it wasn't about looking at the back and like, oh, yeah, I got to check for this song. Nah. And it wasn't like, you know, you had producers like a Premier. We didn't even talk about that part of it. It's just organized noise,
that's what
producing the whole thing.
Well, that's what I mean about the live instrumentation of the first couple of projects, too. It's like, well, ain't really no samples.
Yeah. Let me get to some of these other Super Chats. Jermaine Johnson with the Super Chat says, MJ had to wait until Magic Bird, Isaiah were out of the way before being crowned. Just like Hove had to wait until Big and Pac were out of the way. Who is Pac? And then we can move on. Dane with the Super Chat says Nas is Tom Brady. I agree.
Who's the biggest transitional figure in sports?
Michael Jordan.
No. Transitional. Mike's not the transitional player. Magic and Bird are synonymous with the transition.
With the transition of the NBA.
Yes,
I mean, you're talking about just in period?
Yeah, who's the greatest transitional player?
I mean, Pac's going to have to be Ali or something.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking. He's Ali.
Yeah.
He's Ali to me because he's the guy.
He's the guy that's political. I mean, not political. You know what I mean? Just social.
Well, he's the representation of so many things.
Athleticism matches, right?
Right. It's like, no. Pac's a dope MC and songmaker and lyricist and quotable and hit records and street records and records of guys like. It's like he covers so many bases. It's kind of like what you get with Ali. It's like, well, Ali wasn't just a boxer. It's like, well, he was the best boxer.
Right.
Ali had the best jab. Ali had one of the best hooks. He had one of the best crosses.
Yeah.
Ali had an uppercut.
He had
Ali
everything.
had footwork.
He had everything.
Ali had the best talk game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Look, Ali looked good to the ladies, much like Tupac. Like, ladies loved Ali, much like they loved Tupac. It's like, no. That's a fine 6'2", 215, chiseled up black man. Like, women like them too. That is part of it. So, yeah, Ali is who I thought about for Pac.
Eric Terrell with the Super Chat says, the music nerd Anthony made a video using your talking points about 3000 needing a solo album, but didn't give y'all a shout out after your Monday show. Shout out to music nerd Anthony. I don't know who that is,
but no, you ain't about to be just taking our shit for free. Anthony, what are you doing?
Anthony, what are we doing here, man?
No, don't be taking our shit, first of all, Anthony. Then nobody.
People know who the originators are, though.
Well, apparently you just took it.
Right. Blue Collar Hustle with a Super Chat, and I'm sure Anthony's watching the show because it sounds like Anthony watches the show.
And be hijacking.
Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat says Kanye used ghostwriters. Bron didn't use ghost shooters. Nas is LeBron, teenage phenom who lived up to the hype. I'm okay with that.
The longevity.
I'm
thing
okay
with
with
LeBron,
that.
I'm okay.
I'm okay with that.
But I'm not okay with it because it's like LeBron's competitive record and Nas's competitive record. No, that ain't the same competitive record though, fam.
Yeah.
But the prodigious talent is there. But you could say in the sense that like Nas is Kareem in that sense too. Because it's like Kareem.
I think Kareem could be a
because here's the thing.
longevity's there.
Well, here's the thing.
Everything.
Well, much like Nas, he's considered to be the greatest prospect to ever come out of New York for his respective sport. Came in the game dominating. Came in the game and changed the game immediately. Championship rings early. MVP awards throughout.
Everywhere.
Great late. Got with a younger player late.
Yeah.
That kept him great longer.
I think we found our Nas person is Kareem. Jermaine Johnson.
Who's still a top 5 player.
Yeah, definitely. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says LeBron is LL. Both were great as teenagers. Both are great as elder statesmen.
I like that.
Bron could drop 40 in a year 20. 40 in year 20. LL can still outperform most current MCs. I like that one. Esquire with the super chat says Nas is Kareem. See, he said it before we did. Both were prodigies as teens. Won at all levels, dominated multiple eras, and have been marginalized by the mainstream media, unstoppable forces. And, like you added in.
Very pro-black.
Yeah?
Very pro-black sentiments.
A2HH Studios with the super chat says Kanye didn't use ghostwriters. It's co-writer, excuse me. He would give credit for conversations, one-liners, or what you wear. John Legend said that he never saw people write for him. I agree with A2HH Studios. This man gets credit for everything.
Do you see how the conversation turned just by you saying Kanye? I wish you would stop.
Well, I mean, he has to be a part of the conversation.
No, he doesn't.
He's one of the all-time greats. You know what I mean?
All right, next time.
I'll give him the LeBron thing. Let's talk about this.
Tell us to wrap it up so we can talk about something else. Thank you. Oh my God.
Let's talk about this Currency. Currency dropped a joint album with Harry Fraud called ISIS. Currency just dropped an album, or an EP, I would say, with Jermaine Dupri a couple of months back. Currency is super consistent, and Currency gives his audience and all of us hip-hop listeners, I mean, what we ask for every time. What were your thoughts on Currency's Vice album with Harry Fraud?
Might be a producer preference. Preferred the Jermaine Dupri album.
Me too.
Think it might be a producer preference.
Yeah.
Might be an ATL sound type of preference.
Right.
What I will say is that this man's versatility officially knows no bounds. Like, for him to turn and do the project with Jermaine Dupri and then to switch speeds like this and do a project with Harry Fraud, you know what this sounded like to me? I'm like, this is like a modern-day Miami Vice soundtrack type of album, like with some New Orleans gumbo in it.
Yeah.
And it's like he just keeps meshing styles and blending worlds and doing it so effortlessly that it's like, it's going to be hard for him to have a greatest hits catalog.
Yeah.
Like, his songs are so wildly consistent that, that's the thing about it that makes it so tough to rate him. Is it's like, well, I like this record. Well, I like that record.
Yeah. He's a guy that gives you 4.5 across the board.
Consistently.
And he does it with a variety of
I feel like he
things.
consistently makes songs that are 4s out of 5s.
Yeah.
And I mean that like in the most complimentary way possible.
And I think I was telling you offline, it's hard to really even pinpoint if somebody asks me like, yo, what's your favorite Currency verse? It's hard to pinpoint that because he's so consistent.
What's your favorite Currency song? What's your favorite Currency album?
I still got a favorite Currency song. Address is still my favorite. I played that the other day after I listened to Vices. And but I think those are some things that kind of set the tone for what we know Currency for today. I see Blue Collar Hustle in the super chat says that RZA is Magic Johnson. Okay. But what I was going to say, though, as far as Currency, right? Currency's for New Orleans, right?
Right.
He makes projects with, not just project songs, whatever, with producers, excuse me, from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I won't say started with Ski Beats. He started with No Limit, right? And then he went to
Correct.
Cash Money.
Correct.
So obviously he's rhymed over that production, right?
He's been around New Orleans.
And when he came, to, I guess, the currency we know of today, Address, stuff like that with Ski Beats, right? He's rhyming over up top producers. And then boom, Alchemist. I can do that. I can do the Harry Fraud. You want me to take it back to, Jermaine Dupri? I can do that too. And he does everything at the same level, and it's impressive, man.
I feel like he started off kind of like, with the quote-unquote bounce music that's more associated with his hometown. And he went through a transitional phase where he made what I would like to call, like, Southern Smokers music, And then after that, he's just been, like, in this bag of, well, I feel like I know all the things and I can do all the things. So I'm actually going to, and comfortable enough with his core and comfortable enough with himself that he takes these chances, because that's essentially what they are. They're chances that he's taking. But what I do find is that he does have a groove and a pocket where he, I think, excels a little bit more. And that's like when he's doing like the record with Larry June and Jay Worthy.
Mm-hmm.
When he's in that mode, that's your high level currency. But the problem, well, not the problem, it's a beautiful problem. When you take him out of that level, he never goes too far above or below that level.
You said something, though. The fans. And an artist like him who gets consistent fan support to that level, it empowers him to be able to consistently make this type of music and consistently take those chances.
He deserves
consistently give the fans what they want. Killer Mike said something in his Breakfast Club interview when he was talking about his new album, Michael. He said that Run the Jewels afforded him the opportunity to be able to make an album like this. And Currency has a Run the Jewels type of following. And those type of groups, they might not go out there and hit all these Billboard numbers that people see online and this and that, but they have a consistent fan base that shows up for them, shows up to shows. They support the music when the music comes out, and that's the kind of fan base a Wiz Khalifa has, a Currency has. That's why they're able to take chances, but they also know what their audience wants, and they're not trying to deviate too far outside of that.
I mean, first of all, the Wiz, it's not totally the same things, because Wiz has a black and yellow.
And he has We Them Boys and stuff,
and We Them
too,
Boys, right. So he has, some major notarized songs.
But to the core, though,
Well, see, here's what I mean is that, well, the core is kind of true to Currency, because Currency's always been true about giving the core quality music.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what's really afforded him the capability to take these risks, to talk that we're speaking of, is because, well, he really doesn't fail you when he takes those risks. It's like, you know who he is, and he's a boss. But if hip hop had like a structure, and he was the employees, he would be your best employee, because he would be the guy that always shows up to work on time before everybody, always exceeds expectations, and no matter who it is that you put him with, the team somehow ends up doing a good job. And it's not by accident that when you keep putting him in different places. And so that's what I mean about, like, well, he's prime time. It's just like, well, on what level is he prime time? Because
we'll have a legacy conversation.
That type of consistency is hard to do, especially through eras now. Because now he's doing it through eras. Like, this is probably the fourth era that he's lasted through now.
It is. It's really impressive, the longevity. Blue Collar Hustle with the Super Chat says, Magic won his finals MVP rookie year and then orchestrated everyone else's shine, just like RZA with 36. Magic's 5 chips is RZA's produced 5 classics. What I was going to say, though, to your point also, let's think about this. When your favorite artists, at least in, let's just say, the 2000s, late 90s, mid 90s, when they made weaker records, it was because they were chasing something, right? A lot of the times when your favorite artist went out there and made a record that you really don't care for like that is because they were trying to make a song for an audience that wasn't theirs yet.
Pause,
you know what I'm saying?
Pause right quick. I feel that what you're talking about is what has kept Pusha T and the Clips from ascending to the next level, because I feel like they should have just doubled down on what they are great at. Go ahead.
Okay. And Currency, artists like
That's
him.
what Daytona and Hell Hath No Fury are. It's them doubling down on what they actually do.
Right.
Well. Right.
And Currency doesn't have to, well, it doesn't feel the need to do any of that. So you don't have those moments where Currency made a record where his audience is like, don't fuck with that, because he's not trying to get people outside of who already rock with what he's doing. And there's a beauty to that, and there's a level of consistency to that, too. I think in our era, there were a lot of artists who were trying to expand their audience, and they lost their audience and didn't gain anybody new by doing so. And I think artists like Currency have seen those things, and they refuse to do it.
Well, I think he watched the game change, too, and so he realized where he had to pivot. You know, sometimes when you're inside the room, you see the learning curve and the change, even before people like you and me. So maybe he's just somebody who's wise and saw the way that the game was changing and said to himself, well, if I'm being realistic for an artist like me, he's a smart businessman. It's like, I think he picked the path that worked best for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why merch and everything is great in hip-hop now, because the people who do have a loyal audience, the Currencies, the Run the Jewels, they can do what they do, and their fans are going to support it, and they feel that love. You know what I mean?
You know what, just real quick, it kind of made me sad when you said that about Mike, about Killer Mike, and here's why. You're talking about a guy that's saying, and this is what I mean about how some things are institutional and systemic. How much more diverse and multicultural do you want hip-hop to be than Outkast?
I mean, I can't think of any.
So this band walks into the game with them, right?
Yep.
Platinum single, Grammy award-winning single, On Stankonia, biggest selling album, I believe, quadruple platinum within like a year and a half's time, if not sooner. And he's doing an interview where he's saying he needed Run the Jewels to make an album like this.
Yeah.
Think about what that's really saying on a few levels about how the music business works and about how societal ills work.
I've said this on the show before, and in reference to Killer Mike and his start with Outkast. I think the point that he caught Outkast and the Dungeon Family, they were onto something sonically that wasn't the best fit for him. And I think that, you know, him coming around Stankonia time, I mean, imagine if he was around Akumanai ATLians time.
I was thinking, imagine if he's around actually Soul Food time.
Yeah.
He's perfect for Soul Food.
Imagine what songs he would be on, and imagine the type of audience that he would amass from those songs that he'd be featured on when they were on that kind of wave. But once they got onto a funk futuristic wave, that really didn't fit where he was at that time specifically.
Right.
Maybe now, but back then.
Maybe he's versatile enough now that he can fit in those pockets.
Exactly. You know what it reminds me of? It's like when Miss Jade got with Timbaland and Missy. Miss Jade was talented. Wasn't the best fit for her. Coming out of Philly, having to catch these Timbaland beats, you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't the best fit for her. And it's nobody's fault. It's just, you know, it's that Cannabis Wyclef thing. It's not the best fit.
Well, also,
I'm glad Killer Mike recovered, though.
Well, also, too, understand that when you're great, though, you can work with almost anybody.
Yeah, but out the gate, you're not there yet. You know what I'm saying? Some people are that great out the gate, like Nas.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Like prodigies like that. But
some
people need development. And that's not great for your development when you're with a team that is not fitting you the best.
I'll give you an example of somebody whose development has been supreme, pun intended. Ghost.
Yeah.
Ghostface on Into the Wu-Tang, and Ghostface on Iron Man, and Ghostface on Supreme.
And you know what?
That's 3 different MCs.
You're right.
That's 3 different MCs.
And I'm going to speak to an MC who I give a lot of props on this show.
Actually, Ghost actually rhymes better on the Purple Tape than he does on Iron Man. You know that, right?
Yeah, he does.
Now, his caveat now is like, well, the beats are better. It's like, well, those are the best beats ever.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm going to mention somebody that I give a lot of props to on this show. T.I., out the gate on I'm Serious, he had talent. but he wasn't where he was on trap music or, any of those mixtapes. He needed that level of development. You know what I'm saying? And
he needed a year or two.
yeah, and even when you got talent, you still need that development. And a lot of people like I'm Serious, but if we're honest with ourselves, I'm Serious is not the level of those second, third, and fourth albums.
I like it, but it's not better than those albums. Correct.
He doesn't perform any of those songs.
Well,
from
you
that
can
album.
see the talent. He flashes on that album. He does.
Yeah, you can hear the talent, but he's not the artist that he became.
Oh, no.
And that's development.
He don't know how to make what you know.
So Killer Mike coming in the room. Killer Mike's coming in the room with this Stankonia style and these beats. These guys are developed. They're vets now. They're used to all this stuff.
They stopped
and he's
rhyming
having
over.
to catch this.
Look, they stopped rhyming over beats like Black Ice and Cell Therapy
Exactly.
and Two Dope Boys, right?
Imagine him being around during those times. That would have benefited him a little more, I think.
He could have caught some of. Yeah, he could have. I could see him catching wreck on more Goody stuff than even Cass stuff.
I agree. He would have been all around it.
Like, think if he's around for Still Standing too. I think he would have sounded great on Still Standing.
Black Ice. Esquire with the super chat
I was thinking
says,
Dirty South. Think about Mike's think about Mike's motif.
It back.
Think about Mike's motifs as an artist and what he raps about.
I would like to hear Mike and Cool Breeze.
I was thinking about Mike and Cool Breeze.
It's as aware as they are with their music. I think that would have been a dope collaboration in '96.
How about
95.
this? Imagine Killer Mike getting a career teen type of beat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Even imagine him being on East Point's Greatest Hits. And for the people who ain't looked at that, hadn't listened to that album, go listen to it.
How about that? Some of them Witch Doctor tracks.
Oh, man, Holiday, in my opinion, is one of the best beats to ever come out of the city.
I just played Holiday on the station head yesterday.
Well, shout out to Empress Cersei producing that, man. A lot of people don't know that.
Cersei on the ones.
Yeah, Empress Cersei on the beats. Esquire with the super chat says, Spitta is the face of the blog era mixtape circuit. His verse on Airborne Aquarium and Money Machine are ridiculous. One of the most underrated ever. Agreed. And you know what? With that being said, I know we didn't have Currency drop into our top 50, but with a wildly consistent career to your core like that, where does that leave somebody in hip-hop on an all-time list? Because I'm leaning towards the fact we might need a digital era list, man, because the rules are different.
Ooh.
The rules are different.
When did the digital era start?
I think where Esquire's talking, like we're talking about the Dat Piff era. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like the. What would y'all say? I'm thinking 07, 8-ish.
I'm feeling 07.
Yeah, 07, 08-ish. Things start changing.
How about this? I was talking to one of our followers today, and he lived in Cali in his mid-20s at the same time that I did. And he brought up today, he's like, man, I ain't never gonna see no shit like what happened with the game out in Cali again.
Shout out to the game.
And I was like, fam, I was there too.
Yeah.
I tell niggas about it all the time. Don't I talk about being out in Cali and what Game Buzz was like?
And I wasn't there, man. I didn't get out to Cali till maybe 09.
I can't qualify. Mike, you have to understand, I'm leaving Atlanta when Jeezy's buzz is at its peak.
Is that the only thing you can compare it to? Because Jeezy's buzz here in Atlanta was crazy in 05.
And what I'm trying to tell you is that it's not the same.
Games was bigger?
I was here. I watched it.
Games was bigger than Jeezy's buzz here?
I don't think you understand. That's why I try to tell people. And
That's
so
big.
For me, the streaming era ends like after the documentary stops being relevant. Because where I was in the nation and where I seen music at the time, those days of an artist taking a coast, a corner like that, over. I mean, Mike, he had shit on lock.
Okay, I think we could do it like this. The last two albums, well, actually, the last album I can think of from the physical era in hip-hop that was widely successful, the Carter 3. Is that fair to say?
It's not, that's what I'm saying. Okay,
Does it end there?
So this is what I mean is that, I mean, all respect due.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think niggas in New Orleans was playing Lollipop and got money the way niggas in Cali was playing
everything.
Put You on the Game, Don't Worry with Mary J. Blige, How We Do with 50, Hate It or Love It, Running with Yayo, Higher. I mean, the whole damn album was playing, Mike. Like, and it was regular, and it was nothing. And when I mean it's playing, you walk into a grocery store, you walk into like you name it. And so it's like respect the Wayne, because I was like in the South again for the Carter 3. No, that's what I mean is like I realized that time had died, because it's like you can't take it like that no more.
It's crazy.
Because it's too digital. So look at when did the documentary come out? When did the Carter 3 come out? Because we talking about two different hip hop worlds.
Documentary is 05. Carter 3 was 08, I believe.
Yeah, then it's two different worlds.
Yeah.
So 07 might be the shift.
Okay. Because I remember being in New York that summer when the Carter 3 dropped. And I was surprised with all the love that Wayne was getting at that time.
Here's some of the shift that you need to know, too, is I think, if I'm not mistaken,
125th and St. Nick, right?
2006 is Hip Hop is Dead and Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
These guys are habitually going platinum.
Yeah.
Those records didn't move. That wasn't about the albums being subpar for their catalogs, although both of those albums are those things. It had more to do about the shift in terms of how the climate had changed, in terms of how things were actually being counted.
I think T.I. was coming at that point.
A lot of guys were coming.
There.
Jeezy was there. Ross was there.
Yeah,
Wayne
Jeezy,
was there.
Ross, yeah.
This is their era. This is their time, but this is
Mm-hmm.
also the shift. And so those guys that we're used to going platinum no matter what they put out, well, it wasn't a guarantee anymore. And that's because things had changed. And also Get Rich or Die Trying had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And people forget. And how
Get
about
Rich
this?
or Die Trying change shit.
How about this? Go put It's Dark and Hell is Hot in Volume 2 together. That's Get Rich or Die Trying.
Right. OG Winston with the super chat says,
sales-wise, too, Mike, if you put the two records together sales-wise.
Yeah. No, I get you. I thought that's where you were going first. OG Winston with the super chat says, Currency has been great for years. He stayed true to his sound, unlike Wiz, which backfired on him. Wiz went too pop. See, that's the thing, too. When you have that kind of audience that Currency has, if Wiz makes a record like We Them Boys, he's pop now. You know what I mean? Like, that audience isn't forgiving at all. Like, they won't let you do anything outside of that. But with that being said, though, I mean, where do you think that puts somebody like Currency?
I was actually about to ask you a question. Should you feed that audience? Because when you said that, I thought about Griselda right quick, and I'm like, well, should they be feeding their audience what they're feeding them?
Well, we could look at Conway, right?
Because if you got as many classic songs as they made,
yeah,
as many classic projects as they made, we only got one gold plaque to show for it. Don't you have a right to question the audience a little bit?
As long as their audience is purchasing merch and stuff, I think they don't, and that's why they don't. I believe that they're monetizing on their audience another way, so they don't complain.
I dig that, and that's the.
And I think that's why they don't deviate. I would imagine.
Right, and that's a hustler's ambition. My hustler's ambition is to want it all, and so I would be forging questions, because this is kind of what I brought up last year with the whole streaming thing. It's like, well, I think what's going on is that there are guys in my age demographic that, quite frankly, don't know and don't give a damn like that, and ain't gonna change because they just doing things the way they used to doing things. And it's like, fam, it's not 2005 and the documentary not out. I'm gonna need you to catch up to how things get done. And I know it's happening, Mike, because I just got caught up.
Yeah, I think the way they look at it, I would imagine, is the fact that, you know what, we got a paying customer here. You know what I'm saying? And let's get this customer to pay for something.
Right. But here's what I'm saying is that a smart businessman or woman thinks, well, I have this customer, and this customer is already a customer, a client of mine. How can I maximize what I'm giving this customer? As in, I see this customer buys my merchandise. How can I get said customer to buy my album, go to my shows? Because what you have with said customer is a base and a demographic to build off of. But you have to source into your demographic and your base and find out what they want outside of what you're already giving them. It's like when you got good soil on farmland, you don't go, a half an acre up and start planting there when you don't know what the soil look like. If the soil's already good right here, you find ways to keep that soil fertilized and to make sure that that soil's good season after season. That's what a good paying customer is when they frequent a product of yours. So if you're offering multiple products, no, you should be sourcing out the people that are already contributing to the product and figuring out how to transition them. We are having these conversations behind the scenes. I did a post last week where I talked about getting the 1 million people on Facebook over to YouTube because there's only 12,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Christopher Hogan with a super chat says, Currency is the Devin Hester of rap.
Yes, and according to Ron, like and subscribe to the page. Ron's over here like that's a great time to tell people to like and subscribe to the page.
Like and subscribe to the page. But yes, back to what we were saying though. Where does that put somebody like Currency all time?
I don't know if he's going to make the top 50, Mike.
Okay.
Just being honest, even with all those glowing things being said. Because here's what I would
You got
question.
people like Juvenile out here.
I was about to say, we're about to maybe have a New Orleans conversation. It's like, well, is he even a top 5 New Orleans rapper? Because what I would tell you is think about it like this. At least, and I'd say 7 or 8 states, you could pick 5 rappers and viably build out a top 50. And New Orleans would be one of those places that actually has an influx. There's about 5 or 7 places that have an influx of rappers, and you might be able to make your own top 10 or 15 right there. Cali, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Texas, Louisiana.
Top 3 off the top of my head, and we're going to get into this more when we talk Juvenile. I'm going to say Wayne, Juvenile.
Wayne's number 1.
And Mystical. We'll talk about the rest. But there could be an argument for Currency over Mystical too, honestly, for the consistency, longevity, and those things.
Do you think Jay Electronica deserves to register?
Soulja
Slim did enough before he died to register, so I'm not worried about him registering.
I'd put BG over somebody like Jay Elect. I mean,
I'm cool with BG.
You know, just for what he means to the city, and Soulja Slim too. I think that Jay Elect is a great MC and a great artist, but did the stuff that he make really speak to that market? And maybe I'm not the person to ask for that because I'm from Atlanta. I'm not from New Orleans. You know what I mean?
So Wayne's number 1, Juvie's number 2. Is that clear?
That's what I got. Yeah.
So Cash Money got the best 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, wouldn't you have BG probably at 5? Because I would think.
Yeah.
Because when I think about it, objectively, well, after those 2 guys, after Wayne and Juvie, I'm with you. I'm kind of cool with going Mystical.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the clear 3rd guy for me.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to go Currency, I'm cool with that.
I'm okay with that. And then BG.
The BG at 5. Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Cash Money got 3 of the 5.
Shit, and they had Currency too.
Ugh.
Let's talk about It Was Written real quick.
Oh, hold on. You don't want to stay in NO?
I mean, you know, we can.
Yeah, I kind of want to stay in NO. Yeah,
you want to stay in NO?
Yeah.
We can go there, and then we can go to It Was Written after that. We got a super chat, too. Blue Collar Hustle says, hip-hop is dead and Kingdom Come did move. Hip-hop is dead was Nas's biggest first week since I Am, and outsold Jeezy's first week. It's Nas' last platinum plaque. Okay. And that was his first Def Jam album, too. Notable. Okay, so
go look at the first week sales and go look at the rest of the sales. That album didn't move.
I guess it moved the first week, right? Christopher Hogan with the super chat
that
says,
ain't moving.
Soulja Slim is the GOAT, and I'm from Louisiana. See, there it is. We need Christopher Hogan's input here. So
that's why you see why I brought up Soulja Slim, because I know how cats in the NO feel about Soulja Slim. He's actually, for a lot of them, he's their favorite guy.
They say him, my people in New Orleans say
Mac.
Mac too. They say that Soulja Slim, Fiend. Now, you know what? We'll talk about that. They say Soulja Slim and BG started the gangster shit in New Orleans. Like that gangster rap shit that niggas talk now.
Yes. The head busser.
Yeah.
The head busser music. Yeah. That's Soulja Slim.
And if we're
BG.
expanding the whole state of Louisiana, then you got to consider Boosie and stuff like that. But I'm going to go just New Orleans.
Okay, we doing
And so, Juvenile just did his Tiny Desk concert. We was watching that before we did the show. What did you think about it from what you saw?
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, too.
Forget how many bangers this man has.
Juvenile has bangers. Manny Fresh, too. Shout out to Manny.
And you want to know what I like about his bangers? They're timeless.
I think a lot of them aged well. I think the message on some of them, maybe not so, but it's fun music. You know what I'm saying?
He comes from a very sexually vivacious culture where erotic sounds, behavior are the norm. And so when you're seeing the things that he's talking about, well, it's a reflection truly of like where he's from. It's very, I go back to New Orleans being such a pigeon place in so many succinct ways, and the openness of the sexuality and the bounce music kind of play hand in hand with that. So you might not like the rhetoric. Everybody
But
down
it's
there,
reality.
It's their reality.
007's in the building with the super chat. I think 007 went to the Essence Fest. He says, heard more Juvie and N.O. than Wayne at the Essence Fest weekend. Found that interesting. Wayne is still the best there, though. N.O. and ATL held down the South rap. You know what? That's interesting, and I would say this. And, you know, I'm the guy that did that, you know, best hip-hop song in Atlanta for the past 30 years type thing. I would imagine if you asked the people in New Orleans, based on what they feel, and like you said, with the game, that example you gave there, they might put Juvenile over Wayne. I think the rest of the nation holds Wayne to a certain level because he's put in a level of work that you just can't deny. It's undeniable. And the longevity and all of that. But if someone from New Orleans said, nah, man, Juvie's that guy here over Wayne, I couldn't refute that.
You know what? It's kind of one of those things. Who's the best player to come out of Chicago to play basketball?
Off the top of my head, I thought D. Wade when you said that. But
I think it's Isaiah Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas, yeah, there we go. Forget Isaiah's friend.
Isaiah Thomas literally was doing a show where he's saying, in Chicago, D. Rose is the man.
Mm.
You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
So even though Isaiah and Wade in the NBA reached heights that D. Rose didn't,
In the city, he's the guy.
in the city,
Yeah.
D. Rose the guy.
Yeah.
And so even though Wayne has reached these heights outside of New Orleans,
Yeah.
inside of New Orleans, Juvenile, Soulja Slim, BG, them the guys.
It's the stuff that we try to tell our audience when we talk the ludicrous stuff. And people think that we're being disrespectful when we talk the ludicrous stuff. But no, it's what it is. Like, when he was the biggest guy in Atlanta to you guys who are watching from the outside looking in, he wasn't the biggest guy in Atlanta
like
to the people that were here.
It was like his music's dope.
It's just what it,
We
yeah,
like
he
the
was
guy.
dope. He could rap. He was probably out rapping guys.
Yeah, he's definitely
But if you
out-rapping
go
guys.
into, you know what I'm saying, the clubs and this and that, they're not playing him
Young
over
Bloods.
the big oomph stuff. They're not playing him over the T.I. stuff.
Yeah.
They're not playing him over the Lil Jon stuff at the time.
The
And
Attic
this
crew,
is, yeah.
the Attic crew and the East Side and Lil Jon and them like had it. Yeah.
I heard Damn from the Young Bloods in the club way more than I've ever heard any Ludacris record in the club. And that's just the
I
truth.
mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
And I love Luda. And I don't want
I
Luda to
know.
come out there putting out no freestyle
How
talking
this?
about us. But I'm just saying.
How about this? It's like people outside Atlanta probably started doing like the A-Town stomp when they saw Yeah with Lil Jon and Ludacris and Usher.
Right.
We started doing the stomp the Damn.
We was doing that shit before then. I remember that.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's like Damn was the excuse.
Yeah.
It's like
That
that
was
was
the
the
record to do it
full-fledged.
on.
That was the record to do it on. And so
Let's
So-
rewind.
so
I
even though-
remember
so-
Baby D had a record that people
Right.
did it on. It was
So-
like, what you know about that EAST? Yeah.
yeah, I told you East Side.
Yeah, I just want people to know, you know, I gotta give people props.
Right. So it's like, so while Luda's going triple platinum, that's what we doing in the city.
Yeah. Something
so
else
it's
is
like,
going
it's
on
like,
here.
so it's like, no, we happy for fam.
Yeah.
Cut that shit on. Cut that Lil Jon on. Cut that Young Bloods on.
So if people in New Orleans feel
Cut
like that
tip
about
on.
Wayne,
Cut
I
that early
understand.
tip on. How about this? I don't know what trap music sold, but trap music reverberated in this city.
Yeah.
When you stepped outside, the way no project from anybody around that era did.
It changed the sound.
Our mutual friend, you know, this Chris Hardaway was in Gwinnett. I'm thinking that this fool is getting jumped. He's like, you got to come here right now. I'm like, I hop in the whip. I'm running. I'm thinking something's going on. This fool wanted to play trap music for me.
I remember the first time I heard the album,
He was like, you got to hear this. He said, this the best we done since Aquemini. And when he said that, I was like, oh, shit.
You know what? That might not be an overreach at the time.
No, it's not an overreach.
I
It is-
remember hearing.
It's the best album to come out of the South since Aquemini, and he's right about that.
I remember hearing that album for the first time. My boy Nate's
Well,
car.
Atlanta, not the South. Atlanta, though.
Yeah, I was in my boy Nate's whip, and we were leaving like a South Cobb High School football game or something. But yeah, that album was the truth, and
Shout out
it
to
changed
South
things.
Cobb Metal Detectors.
It changed things. So back to our point, though, if people in New Orleans feel like that about Wayne, I understand it. But from the outside looking in, I have to factor in all of Wayne's work. I would put him at number one. But
yeah, Wayne's number one.
when we look at Juvenile, not just from a New Orleans perspective, but an all-time perspective, in my opinion, he has 2 records that are viable top 50, if not top 100 hip-hop songs of all time. And I'm talking about High and Back That Ass Up. I definitely think Back That Ass Up is a top 50.
See, and I think High is the top 50.
Well, there it is. And 400 Degrees, I feel like 400 Degrees is a top 50 hip-hop album all time.
I actually think, Mike, it might be higher.
It might be. I'm just putting it in a range. You know what I mean?
How about this? And this was just like off the top of the dome question that I had for you when we were, you know, kind of doing our pregame. What Southern rap albums are better than 400 Degrees for certain? Because when I thought about for certain, I'm going to tell you exactly where I thought. I thought The Diary by Scarface. I thought Outkast's first 3 albums. And I thought Soul Food by Goody Mob. And after those 5 albums, I couldn't tell you that anything succinctly came out of the South. Not definitively better than 400 Degrees. Those 5 albums for me are definitively better than 400 Degrees. Soul Food, the first 3 Outkast albums, and The Diary by Scarface. After that, it's like, You
know I'm a Project Pat guy. And
what, I love Mr. Don't Play?
I love Mr. Don't Play, but I got to be objective. It's not. You know what I mean?
Mr. Don't Play came in my mind.
And I love Mr. Don't Play.
So did Riding Dirty.
But when we think about it, those records they ain't got to back that ass up. They don't have a rich niggas.
How about
Chicken Head would be
no, they do. I was about to say,
back that ass up.
And Let Me See It would be their back that ass up. And guess what? As much as I love those 2 records, neither one of those records would back that ass up.
And then he has High to fall back on. Then he has the song 400 Degrees, which is a club classic as well. You know what I mean? Then he got Rich Niggas. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, this is a very, very tough album. And he got really dope album songs in there, too. Follow Me Now.
No, Follow Me is my shit.
Yeah. Juvenile's a very skilled, storyteller.
Underrated as a versatile artist.
Yeah.
And that would put 400 Degrees as the 6th best album to ever come out of the South.
And I think if we be perfectly honest,
I think that's about accurate.
Let's look at this for real, though.
Like, we clear about this. Like, it's better than every Wayne project, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Well, let's look at it like this, too. What is Cash Money?
Even the Carter 2, just to be certain. It's even better than the Carter 2?
Yeah, it's better than that. Okay. What does Cash Money Records look like when we look at the full lexicon of all the labels who've ever done it in hip-hop? I think they have to be towards the top if you look at the longevity, the transitions, the success. And this guy's album was the building blocks for this label to become what it's become. And that means something.
Well, let's look at it like this. If you want to talk about notoriety, Cash Money has 3 artists, Drake, Wayne, Nicki, who are literally top 3 as far as hip-hop artists all time charting. They have bona fide classics like 400 Degrees.
Yep.
The Carter 2. And so they have everything.
They've been in business for 30 years.
They have everything. Before Juvenile, big timers. BGs.
Hot Boy.
BGs when it was Wayne and BG in a group when Wayne was 13.
Yeah.
UNLV.
Yep.
So they have transitioned.
The Hot Boys as well.
The Hot Boys. So they went from local hood group, the neighborhood favorite, to street dudes, to Universal Distribution, CMR, to I
know people don't want to look at it like this, but you know what they look like? They look like Def Jam. Look like when we were younger. You know what I'm saying? Like they were
put some
around.
Respect on it.
Yeah.
Respect.
Because Def Jam's second phase was when they got XJ, or I guess third possibly, XJ and Ja, right?
No, that is the second phase because Def Jam lived on L, Beasties, Run DMC, and Slick Rick for a long-ass time.
Well, I'm
in the early
thinking
90s.
About that mid-90s,
what
that
do they have
Warren
in the mid-90s?
G, that Onyx,
see, but
that
era. They kind of got lucky. They kind of fell into Redman and Warren G. They wasn't looking for
And they had Method Man in 94, too.
Right, but it's like Meth said. He's like when DMX dropped everybody.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like that's their third leg. Their second leg wasn't as successful as the third.
See, I don't think that was a second leg. I think that was the warm-up to the second leg. It's like getting Red and Meth is really the second leg. There is no second leg. Warren G was kind of an outlier. They weren't expecting that. That's what I'm saying. As far as like what their plans were, Meth and Red was kind of like the warm-up. They didn't plan on Reasonable Doubt being that way and picking up Jay and Rockefeller from Priority. They didn't plan on that. They didn't
needed
plan
it.
because think about that. Like them going and picking up Reasonable Doubt from Jay in December of that year. People forget Rockefeller and Def Jam signed that distribution in December of '96. That put Irv in the building.
Yep.
That's what put X in the
That was
building.
the important piece.
Right. That put Irv in the
That
building.
actually put Jay in the building, too. Irv was a big piece.
No. Irv is what bought X and Ja Rule in the building. That's when shit changed for them. Shit didn't change when they bought Jay in the building for Reasonable Doubt. Volume 1 sold 1 million records.
Yeah, they brought him in for Volume 1, yep.
Ja Rule and DMX, that's Irv being in the building.
Yeah.
That changed things. That's their second leg to me.
I think the Cash Money's Nicki, Wayne, Drake looks a lot like the late
Jay,
90s.
X, Ja Rule?
Exactly. And a lot of
Agreed.
people don't really look at it like that, but with all that being said, Juvenile's 400 Degrees, it's very licensed to illish, honestly. If we keep it real, it built the label. It put them in position to
More
be
radio
what
than
they
licensed to ill.
It's a
but
little
I
mix
hear
of both. And I say
Little bit of
licensed
both.
to ill because of the commercial
bangers.
success.
You're talking about the viability.
Yeah, it sold a lot,
Paul
too.
Revere, girls.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
sold a lot. And that money from those records did a lot for Def Jam moving forward. Just like the money from 400 Degrees did a whole lot for Cash Money moving
Isn't that
forward.
crazy that Views is the first album to exceed 400
It's
degrees
incredible.
in sales? I forgot how many records it moved.
Yeah. Christopher Hogan with the super chat says, Big Facts Coop. Ask any rapper from Louisiana who the #1 rapper is.
I
And
already
it's
know.
Soulja Slim. He represented the streets of Louisiana.
Fam, I had my barber who cut my hair for 12 years, Fifth Ward. All you can't tell them. Like, how about this? They love Slim so much, they could tell you how he got hit and where and what time it was and where it was when it happened.
Very sad.
Like when dudes talk about him, and even the night he died, they talk about where they were when it happened in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's a different type of attachment where it's like, no. He had went to go because I knew his cousin that stayed 3 doors down from his mama when they had did it. And yeah, it's like
R.I.P. then.
that.
Yeah.
It's like, but how they feel about him is like that.
Yeah.
Niggas die in New Orleans every day and they don't say shit.
Christopher Daughtery with the super chat says, another reason Juvenile and BG over Wayne Coop is I'm from New Orleans. Is because their catalog is better than Wayne's. And more a feature guy highlight guys to us.
You know what? I noticed during the Tiny Desk? And I literally asked myself this question. Is like, are Wayne's hits better than Juvenile's hits?
I don't know.
Like,
I mean,
that's what
Wayne
I'm
just
saying.
got a lot more, you know what I mean?
He do,
yeah.
but think about the stuff that he's like. See, that's the thing with Wayne. It's like there's the stuff that he made that's hits that I feel like are better songs, and then there's the stuff that's like really, really popular that I don't know if it's as good. Like, how about this? It's like, for as much as I love like 6 foot, 7 foot, and She Will on the Carter 4.
Yeah, those ain't high and back that ass up. No.
It's not even John though with Rick Ross. That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean about his hits. You know what I'm saying? It's like when the John with Rick Ross is really the banger. You know what I'm saying?
Here we go with the John stuff. You're right though. We were listening to John yesterday.
John's the best song on the Carter 4, Mike.
Shout out to Rick Ross. CJ Kidd with a super chat says, is Ghetto Boys gripping on that other level or We Can't Be Stopped better than 400 Degrees? I always hear that Grip is a classic. No, we don't have the evidence. It's a classic.
It's not.
But it's not 400 Degrees. CJ Kidd says, is The Fix better than 400 Degrees?
I thought about The Fix because here's the problem with The Fix. It's like, and that's where High and Back That Ass Up start getting in glaring view. It's like, even for a prime peak Scarface, it's like, no, The Diary's better. Not
Why
The
would
Fix.
you say The Diary's better than 400
It's
Degrees?
more production-wise. I find it to be an equal piece of work. I think the production on The Diary is succinctly underrated. There's a level up in the production and in the sounds. I hate to say it like this. You can tell these niggas got real money now when you hear The Diary. First 2 albums, you can tell that they on the street stuff. They paying local producers. It's like, no, they done stepped into professional studios, professional engineers, but also, Mike, has stuff that competes on an all-time level.
I Seen a Man Die. It's crazy.
I Seen a Man Die. Oh, that's better than High and Back That Ass Up. You want to talk about a top 50 song? It's like, how about this? I know High and Back That Ass Up are top 50 songs. I Seen a Man Die, top 20 song. Hand of the Dead Body with Ice Cube. You know, Going Down, please excuse my attitude. He actually has stuff to compete. And as far as like an album, lyricism,
Yeah.
shit that you can feel, that's better than
And he did it
400
a lot
Degrees.
earlier too.
It's 95. It's not like
But I'm saying he
94,
laid
late
his
94.
94, but he's laying foundation that hadn't. He was breaking ground that hadn't
Right.
been broken at that point. I will give you this though. I think I Seen a Man Die is in the conversation of those other songs. Two different tones.
Right.
But yeah, I'm with you. Like, if you say that song's better than High and back that ass up, I'm not gonna say you're crazy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But also too, it's like, I mean, and maybe it's an aesthetic thing too. It's like, well, you know, Louisiana and Texas right next to each other. It's like, well, if you like the bounce, you probably like 400 Degrees more. If you like the street music, you probably like the Diary more. Like the White Sheep to me, like there ain't nothing on 400 Degrees that's messing with the White Sheep to me. Like as far as like that album track that I'm gonna ride to, they just got that feel to it. It's like, no, I love 400 Degrees. They don't got no White Sheet or G's on 400 Degrees. Like, nah, it ain't like that. Face Somewhere Else on the Diary specifically, as far as like feeding the block that music. You know what I'm saying? It's like 400 Degrees is wonderfully put together, and the beats are great, but it's not a better production job than the Diary per se. The lyrics job is Face all day.
Yeah.
The streets is Face all day, and he actually has a song on there that measures up, even though differently, contextualizing the history of hip hop annals with High and Back That Ass Up. And it's like, and for whatever you may feel about it, most people think Never Seen a Man Die is better than High and Back That Ass Up.
It's a great record. It's an incredible record. One of the best hip hop records.
Think about
ever.
this: how many times are you hearing Ice Cube in 1994 on somebody else's shit? Because it's like
special.
Getting a verse from Ice Cube ain't no easy pull in the early 90s. He is that dude.
It's respect. Shout out to Manny Fresh too, because I feel like once again, when you think about all the work that Manny Fresh put in early on in those Cash Money days. And honestly, I feel like the production was the buy-in for 400 Degrees, right? When I first saw the High video on Rap City or wherever I saw it for the first time, what stood out to me, outside of the MC and all that, was that beat. And the production job that Manny did on 400 Degrees and what Juvie did on there, that set the foundation for Cash Money. And that, that needs to be noted. But with all that being said, top 5 New Orleans MCs. Where are we going here? I'm saying Wayne, Juvie, Mystical.
Wayne and Juvie. Mystical, real quick, you got anything to say about Mystical? Because we've actually talked about Soulja, and we've talked about Wayne, we've talked about Juvie.
Well, I want to be very clear, too, because when you bring up somebody like Mystical, it's all problematic when it comes to off-court shit, right?
I don't even want to bring
When we're talking about the music, I think what Mystical, I'm going to say this about Mystical. I think he's one of the most original as far as sonically and sound and approach. Where does this style come from? I've never heard anything like this.
So when you say that Future is James Brown, that's why I always have an issue. Mystical is the reason that I have a problem with you saying Future is James Brown, because I'm like, no, Mystical is James Brown.
They both are.
As in, no, listen to what I'm about to say. Stage performance-wise. Like, no. Mystical, you remember before Shake Your Ass and like all that other stuff, Mystical was known for The Man Right Here, but his stage performance. Here I go. But Mike, there's footage of him doing full Michael Jackson dance routines on stage after performing Here I Go. Here I Go is better than High and Back That Ass Up to me too, even though to me personally,
they're classics. They're Southern classics.
To me personally, that's what I'm saying is like I know top 50 wise picking High and Back That Ass Up, but if you're asking me if I'm playing High and Back That Ass Up over Here I Go or Never Seen a Man Die, the answer is no.
The truth of the matter is, for the people who weren't around for the No Limit era, back then, people would buy No Limit CDs every single week. I think that in 1998, I literally believe No Limit came out with an album every week. And Mystical was a big part of that. Back then, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have any other way of hearing the album other than actually buying the album. So a lot of people would buy the album just to hear the Soulja song, and Mystical was the draw for those things.
And Unpredictable is arguably the best album to come out of the No Limit
I think
camp.
it is.
Ghetto Dope.
Either that or Ghetto Dope. But if we talk about hearing Mystical on 3 verses or hearing P on 3 verses, give me the Mystical by it, me personally.
No. I hear you.
Yeah.
I was kind of out when he took the Eric B and Rakim shit and started making crack like this. That's when I was out. I was like, I'm out.
Make crack like this. I think we got a couple super chats.
Good.
Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, I don't think that Wayne has a close connection with Louisiana. He lived in Miami for most of his prime and very little presence during Katrina. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, guess who's back? And my block aren't better than High or Back That Ass Up. Just asking. Some people say The Fix is better than The Diary. I'm with that. I mean, I understand both sides of it. I think that The Fix I think that The Fix kind of like what we said about Lil Wayne. I think that it was a little bit more East Coast centric and kind of moved away from some of its Southern roots from a production standpoint. So I think that might be why certain people connect a little bit more to The Diary more so than The Fix. Even though I do think from a technical standpoint, The Fix is a brilliant album, and it does deserve those 5 mics that it got in the source. MC with the super chat says, I've always said that Mystical was a hip-hop James Brown. Well, let me say this about Mystical, and I know Coop said, I said that Future, I compare him to James Brown. I compare Future to James Brown in the sense where I can't really quantify exactly what Future's doing. I know Future's a rapper, technically, right? But he's kind of singing. He's kind of rapping. He's kind of harmonizing. He's doing the auto-tune. He's doing a lot of different things. And I always try to take myself back to the 1960s, 50s, or whatever, when people were writing records, right? And people were harmonizing. People were singing. And then James Brown comes in grunting. James Brown comes in chanting. I'm sure that most of the recording artists at the time were like, what exactly is he doing? And I know James Brown, the Furious Flames, and the Fabulous Flames, he was doing a little bit more singing then, but at the same time, it wasn't your traditional singing. So that's why I compare Future to James Brown in that sense. I do agree with the Mystical thing. Mystical did something totally different. I think he's one of the most original MCs that we've ever gotten on the mic, but that's where that comparison comes from. Let me see. I think we got Peter Parks here. Mr. A with the super chat says, don't sleep on BG. We definitely not. We're going to make sure BG gets his flowers. Chris Daugherty with the super chat says, it meant Wayne's solo catalog is not better than Juvenile or BG. Peter Parks with the super chat says, I think Juvie represents Noya to me. His draw and his style is everything. Okay. Well, do you think that does take away, all right, let me say it like this. Is a New Orleans top 5 different than an all-time top 5, right? Where it's like the New Orleans top 5 is more so about what you mean to the city, more so than what you mean to the nation.
I think everybody's neighborhood kind of works like that. Like if you go out to Cali,
so Juvenile's ahead of Wayne.
Right, but like Quick and 8 are ahead of a lot of guys in Cali that we might have ahead of 40 and Short are ahead of guys that we might have. Like, I know guys out in Cali that like Short more than they like Snoop.
Yeah.
They like Short, been here longer, fam.
We got people in our chat that really be speaking for E40.
Hard.
Yeah.
So it's different when you local, how NoCal feel and how SoCal feel is even different.
Yeah. I mean, even when I hear records that I know are just Atlanta records, right, that only me and my friends that grew up in Atlanta know, it makes me feel different.
Right, like how about this?
It feels different.
If we making an Atlanta rapper list, well, Kilo making our list.
Of course.
Ain't making nobody outside Atlanta list, Mike.
Exactly. You know, when you and I did the Dungeon Family and Wu-Tang Patreon, I wanted to play Witch Doctor Holiday so bad, but I knew nobody would know that record. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't.
They don't.
I couldn't play it. That's an Atlanta thing.
And it's a great record.
Yeah.
It's one of the better songs.
But see, I love that, though, and I love people representing that
But you can play some Watch for the Hook.
I think what we need to do, and you're right, I think what we need to do when it comes to, like, top 5 in New Orleans, we got to kind of take the nation out of it and kind of just speak from a New Orleans perspective. I think Juvenile would have that crown. Is that fair?
Yeah, if we keeping it local, Juvie probably that. Yeah.
Would y'all agree out there? I know y'all say Soulja Slim. I want to talk to the NO people, that are in the room.
I mean, Soulja would be the guy, but I mean, obviously, Soulja's not here. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, even with Soulja, one of his biggest records is with Juvie. right?
It's true. It's actually what helped bring him the kind of national prominence.
Well,
a
he
little
was
bit.
gone at that point, but
I
a lot
mean,
of
it
people
was still,
recognized
but it
him.
was still his national prominence moment. He just wasn't here for it.
But shout out to Juvenile, and we're going to put Juvenile through the rubric at some point because I think that he deserves that top 50 consideration. And I wanted to take this moment out
DJ
to
All
give
Day makes a very
Juvenile
good
his
point.
flowers. What's that?
Listen, he says, problem is most people that came out rapping from ATL ain't from ATL.
Well, that is a big problem. Even though we, accept all kind of out-of-towners, we appreciate the out-of-towners and all of that.
Like,
but,
Luda's not technically from here.
I mean, he's an A-Town legend.
Jeezy technically not from here.
No.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
Big Boy was born in West Savannah way before he started rapping.
Gucci was born in Alabama. But see, this is the thing, and I think that Atlanta got this early. If you come here and you contribute, it's all good. Dallas Austin, he's from a small town in Georgia. You know what I mean?
But ain't Left Eye from Ohio?
Well, she's from Philly.
Philly.
Jermaine Dupri's from North Carolina. But again, those people came here and contributed heavy. And so, yeah, I mean, if you come here and contribute.
I think the hood just worked that way. It's like Prodigy's from Hempstead, but
Yeah. What did Prodigy contribute to the bridge?
A lot.
So yeah, we can't front on
a whole lot.
That. And you know what? I'll say that about Luda because I know signals might get crossed when people listen to us talk about Luda. But what Luda came down here and contributed to Atlanta radio is immeasurable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I feel you because it's like for me personally, Prodigy is my second favorite rapper out of Queens. It's like objectively probably 5 or 6, but. You know what I mean? Personally, it's like, it's Nas and then it's P.
Yeah.
It's like I know 50 and L and G Rap would probably be ahead of him, but not in my book.
You know Poon Daddy's from Cali, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yep. Contributions,
somebody said that. Somebody said that to me.
Yeah, he's from Cali, but his contributions to Atlanta, he's an Atlanta legend. You want to talk It Was Written?
Yeah, I think we've had a little NO.
Yeah. It Was Written celebrated 27 years. Has it been that long already? Wow. And I think this is such an interesting album because I've watched, even as we've done this show, the legacy of this album has continued to grow. And I remember when It Was Written came out, many of us who were, Nas listeners were slightly underwhelmed coming off of Illmatic. And I think that we were being unfair at the time. We were kids, but I also believe, and you brought up some of these things too, I think we were media influenced, and I think that the publications did a job on shaping our narrative of this album as opposed to us just actually listening to it for ourselves and shaping our own narrative. As great as the Source magazine was, right, and the 5-mic scale and all of that, it really shaped our narrative on what was great and what wasn't when you look back at it. And It Was Written was one of those times, I think. And I think that people who didn't grow up in that era and were able to listen to the album themselves have kind of reshaped the narrative of this album.
I'm going to go to one of my favorite albums and one of your favorite albums.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to tell me if you think It Was Written is better than these two albums. And if you tell me that it's not, I want you to explain to me where and why.
Mm-hmm.
Because so problematic has been the media's coverage, or was the coverage and the depiction of this album, that it literally has taken those publications, quite frankly, either not being here, having the credibility they used to have, for this album to ascend to the status that I feel like it always deserved. Do you think Liquid Swords is better than It Was Written?
I love Liquid Swords. I probably would put on certain songs from Liquid Swords over It Was Written, but I couldn't make the argument song for song, track for track, lyric for lyric, that it's better.
Now,
maybe production, that's about it.
Now, Mike, you and I argue about Liquid Swords and Supreme Clientele all the time. I'm going to ask you the same question. Is Supreme Clientele better than It Was Written? And if you feel that way, explain, because think about the fact that you're going to need evidence to explain.
I feel like it is.
Explain.
I
Because
think
Supreme Clientele isn't better produced than Liquid Swords to me.
I think the Supreme Clientele is better produced than it was written. I think that, in my opinion, there aren't any skip tracks on Supreme Clientele. I think the Supreme Clientele gives you everything that you want as far as like the Posse records. And if you want a hit record, then you got Shay Shay Lagos. Shay Shay Lagos, from a success standpoint, is not If I Ruled the World.
Or Street Dreams.
But I like Shay Shay Lagos more than I like If I Ruled the World personally.
So, but this is what I mean about, well, you have to look at it objectively. Is that when I bought up Never Seen a Man Die, I bought up a song that actually competed with those Juvenile songs.
You don't think Shay Shay Lagos competes with If I Ruled the World?
Nobody thinks that, Mike.
Really? From a quality standpoint?
No.
I actually like Shay Shay Lagos as a song better. You like If I Ruled the World better than Shay Shay Lagos?
I actually do, Mike.
Really?
It's not by much. I kind of hold the songs in terms of what I don't listen to from these artists' catalog in a similar stratosphere. But If I Rule the World is the superior song at every single turn, Mike.
I like Nutmeg more than I like The Message.
See, Mike, that's what I'm saying.
And again.
Okay, so, but this is what I'm saying. When you're saying that, like, I want you to objectively step back and think about what The Message is.
Yeah.
And think about what Nutmeg is and tell me where that's actually viable, because I get what you're saying, because there are things, and this is why I brought up Liquid Swords. How you feel about Supreme is how I feel about Liquid Swords. But when I step back and objectively look at it, I'm like, oh, them records not better than the records on It Was Written, outside of a few records, though, and I know the records. Fourth Chamber, Shadow Boxing, Killer Hills 10304, Living in the World Today, maybe. And it's like, no, the message is way better than Nutmeg. If I Rule the World's better than Shay Shay Lagos.
I disagree with that.
Hold on, listen. The Posse cuts, it's like, nah, fam, Affirmative Action. It's like Buck 50 and Wu Banger 101 might be better.
I like, I like both of those better. I like Buck 50 more than I like Live Nigga Rap, but I like Live Nigga Rap more than I like
Wu Banger.
Wu Banger.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
the Posse cut's comparable, but this is what I'm saying. Oh, I love Ghost. Ain't no I gave you power or no take it in blood on no Supreme Clientele. He don't have anything like that Mike-wise on there, Mike.
Mike-wise?
And if you think so, Mike, that's what I'm saying is like that's more personal than objectively. There's no I gave you power or take it in blood. And story-wise, there's no shootouts or setup on Supreme Clientele.
I like Child's Play from a story standpoint.
Mike,
I
that
think
shootouts to you, though?
I mean, I love Shootouts. I think Shootouts is the better song, but I don't think we're on two different levels here. I think for my Supreme Clientele offers some intangibles, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that I think It Was Written misses in comparison to that album. You know what I mean? Like, I think that from a creative standpoint and just thinking outside the box, and you're like, yo, where the fuck did they get that from? That's what Supreme Clientele does in a way that I don't feel like It Was Written does. But what It Was Written does, and it does best, is mic performance. No album's really going to be It Was Written on a mic performance level.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you're talking about those intangible things, like, well, how did this guy do this? You mean like make himself a gun for a whole record?
No, I'm talking about from his end, yes. But I'm talking about from the whole, you know what I mean? Like, the intangibles of Supreme Clientele is the production, the samples, his out of whack, you know what I'm saying, perspectives, and the way he's approaching records, some of the stuff he's saying.
Right. So,
like,
but that's what I'm trying to tell you, is that tangibly it's not a better album. Like, because I feel that way about Liquid Swords. When you talk about Supreme, it's how I talk about Liquid Swords. It's like, I was saying this on Mirror Music the other day with Andrew. I was like, some days I want to hear the Jizza say stuff. I be singing Swords strictly based on keyboards, unbalanced like elephants and ants on seesaws. It's like, nah, Nas is doing that on It Was Written. It's
from
like
entertainment value. You think the entertainment value on It Was Written is higher than Supreme Clientele?
No, but that's what I'm saying. When you're talking about entertainment value, first of all, Ghost is a hard act to beat.
Yeah.
In terms of entertainment,
just like
value.
how Nas is with the pen. Like,
right. But what I'm saying is that entertainment value is actually the only place where I actually entertainment and maybe diversity in selection of beats is where I see Supreme being better.
You think It Was Written is better produced than Supreme Clientele?
When I go back and listen to these beats, Mike, it's like I'm trying to hear the crossover beats because how about this?
Oh, Jermaine Johnson says, who claims Primo, NYC or Houston? We got to ask the contribution. Is his contribution more towards Houston or New York? Same thing we said with, the Atlanta imports.
No, I get what you're saying. This is what I mean. How about this? The beats as a whole are better on Supreme, as in, like, when I hear the beats by themselves. $1.50. Mighty Healthy. We made it.
We made it, yeah.
Yeah, we made it. Ooh, that's my beat. That's my favorite beat on Supreme.
Shit crazy.
Shit crazy.
His verse on there is crazy, too.
It was written as kind of Liquid Swords-like in the sense where, well, the beats are fitting the artist particularly in a way. It's not just about the beat. It's the way the beat fits the artist. And when I go back and listen to the setup and shootouts, and even what Preem did for I Gave You Power, it's like, when Preem probably heard him spitting some of that stuff and was like, I can't give him no, you know what I'm saying? He had to give him something. You had to give him something that worked for that Supreme lyrical zone that he was in. And I think that's where It Was Written doesn't get enough credit. So do I think Supreme Clientele is better produced? Yeah, but the songs aren't better. Because here's the thing about it. Name the classic songs on Supreme, because It Was Written's littered with them. Supreme is not.
So is Supreme.
No, it's not, Mike, because this is what I'm saying. Nutmeg is not considered a hip-hop classic. The message is. You're talking
Nutmeg
personally.
made it on that top 100 East Coast songs
And what did you say about the list?
I said that was personal.
You said that was somebody's personal list. Mike, The Message is one of those songs that falls on everybody's list. It's a hip-hop classic.
I like Nutmeg more than... But maybe that's
I get you, but this is what I'm saying, Mike. That goes back to that Here I Go with Mystical versus Back That Ass Up at 400 Degrees. It's like, oh, do I like that record more? Am I going to play that record more? Yeah. Is that record really competing with High and Back That Ass Up? Mike, the answer is no. And that's what Nutmeg is. Nutmeg is like Here I Go by Mystical. It's like, no, that's great if you love that Wu-Tang shit, if you love Ghost, but if you think Nutmeg and The Message are on the same level, nah, Mike.
I think Nutmeg's the better record.
Mike, put it in the chat. Mike,
yeah,
get your feelings hurt.
We'll do that.
It's going to be like 80-20 though, Mike. It's bad.
We're in the Nas room.
How about this? The best song on Supreme is probably One to me.
You think so?
Solo, Mike.
I think Mighty Healthy is.
Okay, so best two records, One and Mighty Healthy. Solo shots?
Yeah.
Mike, what's the best solo shots on It Was Written? I want you to say it out loud so you understand the levels are different. Because One and Mighty Healthy, like
I
Gave You Power and Take It in Blood is like crushing One and Mighty Healthy. You know that, right?
You know what? I get the concept, and I love the concept of I Gave You Power, and he executed perfectly.
I love the beat. That's what I'm saying. That's Primo's most underrated beat nobody talks about. That's very much a Primo beat.
The beat is very Bring It On.
It sounds
Bring
like
It On-ish.
It sounds like something out of Group Home's album. That's what I mean.
This is what I'll say, and I know we were doing comparisons of athletes earlier. Supreme Clientele is more KG, where It Was Written is more Tim Duncan.
That's fair.
And I'm widely more entertained by Supreme Clientele between those two albums.
Right.
Now, if somebody wanted to break down bar for bar, mic performance, and I guess hit for hit too, and say that It Was Written is better, I'm not mad at that. But me personally, it's not even a conversation.
How about this, Mike?
Silent Murder changes things, though.
Silent Murder is a game changer. There's definitely no Silent Murder on there.
And see, I think my biggest problem, and we're all, jaded by our formative years, the It Was Written I bought doesn't have Silent Murder on it. So that's the way I remember It Was Written. Maybe if I remembered it in a way where Silent Murder was involved, I might think slightly different.
So you're right, because the first time I heard It Was Written, it was on a tape. So I'm very familiar with Silent Murder. Like, very, very familiar. It's how it was introduced to me. So I don't know It Was Written without Silent Murder.
Yeah.
It's track 7 after Taking in Blood.
Incredible record.
Yeah, it goes into Taking in Blood and then Silent Murder.
And it's actually my personal favorite Nas song.
But here's what I'm saying is that, okay, where do you have Supreme all time?
I think Supreme Clientele is the best hip-hop album of the 2000s.
So think about the fact that we're arguing about It Was Written with the best album of the last 23 years.
Yeah.
What does that say about what It Was Written
it's
really
high
is?
praise. It's actually his second best album, if we're going to be objective here.
Exactly. But what I'm also trying to say is, okay, let me rephrase it. Is Supreme Clientele a top 25 album?
I think it could be, but I don't think it is. I don't think It Was Written is either, though.
I think they both are. That's what I'm trying to say.
I got to come on my list.
You do. How
Yeah.
about this?
To debunk that. Hold on, let me get some of these super
Do you
chats
think
real
Midnight
quick.
Marauders is better than It Was Written?
I don't. I'm going to be real. I think Low End Theory is.
I do too.
Yeah.
Low End Theory is better than almost everything ever made, though.
They're going to kill us in the chat with that, too. CJ Kid with the super chat says, we had It Was Written versus LS and SC before, guys. Just waiting for you guys to use the album rubric that we made before. After those, It Was Written has the battle Ready to Die next. I don't think It Was Written beats Ready to Die. It's just my opinion. Now I say I'm tripping in the chat.
That's going to be hard to do.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying. This is what I mean about when you start breaking stuff down and looking at it. And you look at It Was Written for what it is. Well, as much as I love Things Done Change, the message is better than Things Done Change.
I agree with that.
Street Dreams or Give Me the Loot. I Gave You Power or Machine Gun Funk. It's not as easy as people make it out to be. Take It in Blood or Ready to Die. The One More Chance or Silent Murder.
You're putting Silent Murder there?
Didn't it just get re-released with Silent Murder on there?
They put it at the end, though.
I don't care where they put it, Mike.
I got to look at this original track list.
Mike.
It was number 7?
The tape version, Mike.
I thought it was at the end.
Oh God, Mike, you don't know this. The tape, the first side of the tape ends with Silent Murder. That's how the first side of the tape ends.
See, I thought it ended with Silent Murder. Okay, so
no.
okay.
On the original version, tracks 1 through 7.
What a
side
travesty.
A, think about this. This is what I'm saying. You talking about Supreme Clientele is better, Mike. On the first side of it was written on the tape is the message. I gave you power, taken in blood. And Silent
But
Murder.
see, stuff like Nas Is Coming and stuff like
Nas Is
Black
Coming
Girl
is-
Lost,
See,
it throws it off to
but,
me.
But listen, Nas Is Coming is also like placed there intentionally because it's how the second part starts.
I skipped that record, though, and there's nothing I skip on Supreme
But
Clientele.
that's what I'm talking about. That's you, Mike. I skip stuff on Supreme Clientele. Like, as much as I
Yeah.
love Malcolm, it's like Malcolm ain't like that all the time.
I think
Mike.
Malcolm is the weakest song on there as well.
I don't-
But you could tell that Malcolm was more
I don't love
Iron Man
Ghostini.
days.
I don't love Ghostini.
Oh, Ghostini's incredible. Ghostini's incredible.
No, it's not, Mike.
No, Ghostini's incredible, yo. Wally Boots, Jamaican hat, long 4 pound, ass niggas how I get down.
It's
Don't
good,
speak
Mike.
much, deluxe plus
It's good.
imagination. Hold a
I'm
note.
aware.
Like Willie Hutch, you might have bumped into me on the Rikers
I can't
bus.
talk to you.
Yo, this nigga was going crazy.
I can't. Talking to you about Supreme Clientele is like trying to talk to me about the 95
Yeah.
Nas feature run. You're not trying to
Yes.
hear anything that I'm trying to say about any of it. You ain't
I'm
trying to
closed off.
hear- Right. You're totally unavailable. You are emotionally unavailable to love albums outside of Supreme Clientele. You need to talk to somebody.
CJ Kid with the super chat says, I'm saying Ready to Die because it's the next album after Supreme on the album list at number 12. Man, he's got that album list memorized.
But this is what I'm saying too. Is like back to that Ready to Die thing. It's like, oh no, that ain't happening as easy as you think, because the weak tracks on Ready to Die are some of the strongest stuff on It Was Written. Like, think about this, like those Respect, Friend of Mine, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's going up against shootouts and live nigga rap.
It's true.
Yeah.
We got to parse this out.
But think about where Ready to Die is. Think about where Supreme is. Think about where Liquid Swords is. If I can have, I'm just forging this conversation with you. That's like, well, if I can compare It Was Written to Ready to Die
Yeah, it's high.
and to Supreme Clientele and to Liquid Swords,
Because that used to feel unheard of.
that means these motherfuckers got it wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
Way wrong.
Not
That's
Mad
the
Max.
problem.
Max with a super chat. And Mad Max must be missing today. Illmatic is Nas's best album, but It Was Written is his greatest mic performance. I agree with
It's the
both
greatest
of
mic,
those
It's
things.
the greatest mic performance ever.
007 with the super chat says It Was Written has more highs than Supreme Clientele. Also,
does.
the bars are too deep. It Was Written also came out in a tougher rap climate. Ghost doesn't sound as sharp or creative.
Because keep in mind, Iron Man does come out in 96.
It does.
You know why ain't nobody talking about Iron Man like that? It Was Written, Reasonable Doubt. Right.
And honestly, Ghost just wasn't where he was
He
on
wasn't the
Supreme
best.
Clientele.
Right.
Yeah.
I told you, Ray's the best rapper
Ray's
on
the
Iron
best
Man.
rapper on Iron Man.
He's the best rapper on the
And
Purple
Ghost
Tape,
is
too.
my guy. Ghost is like one of my personal favorite MCs. And Supreme Clientele kind of started that moment, so I guess,
No, Supreme is special, Mike.
Yeah.
But it's just like when I go listen to, like, this is what I mean.
It's got so much personality, man.
But see, context matters. That's what I mean. Fake thug, no love. You get the slug. CB4
CB4
Gusto.
Augusto,
Your
you
luck,
luck,
no.
though.
I didn't know till I was drunk, though. You freak niggas played out. Get fucked. No, every nigga in New York know those bars, Mike. Every nigga in New York knows those bars.
Frank Wizard with the super chat says, Nas 22 dropping It Was Written. Ghost was 30 when Supreme Clientele dropped. Nas was so ahead, so young. Well, that's not the argument.
Ghost has even said Nas is the GOAT, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, we know that. I'm not saying Ghost is better than Nas. We're talking about 2 albums.
We're talking about 2 albums.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that it's...
Yeah.
And I think, how about this? When I did my list, I believe that I had Supreme Clientele all time, like 14, 15, 16.
That's super high.
Mike, there's not a lot of albums. Think about what you're saying. Okay, so think about what you're saying. If you think Supreme Clientele is the best, 2001, correct? 2000?
2000.
2000.
Yep.
You think it's better than My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy?
That was 2010. But yes. If you're asking me, yes.
Do you think it's better than Good Kid, Mad City and To Pimp a Butterfly?
In my opinion, yes.
Do you think it's better than Daytona, Pray for Paris, and KD3 and Magic?
Yes.
That makes it the
and
best.
I'm talking about the first decade of the 2000s.
But no, but Mike, but what I'm saying is
yeah.
that if you feel that way, you think it's better than Get Rich or Die Trying?
See, I used to feel like it is. There's a debate there. Get Rich or Die Trying is tough, but I think it is.
So how about this?
I think it's better than The Blueprint. I think it's better than B.
Okay, so Supreme Clientele, B, Blueprint, Get Rich or Die Trying.
Incredible albums. All
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy would be my 5th. That's of the 2000s, right?
2010, but I mean it's a whole nother decade.
No.
Yeah,
I mean 2000.
You talking about 2000s beyond?
2000s beyond. No, I think It Was Written is better than all of those albums except for maybe Get Rich or Die Trying, Mike.
Wow. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, Mike, to your point of intangibles, Ghost wasn't saying anything when he said supercalifragilisticexpialidocious backwards.
He's not.
But you try to say that, Jermaine. How about you try? Can you say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious backwards?
I used to be able to because I used to practice it when I used to listen to Supreme like that.
This is Mike techniques, and this is like, you know what I'm saying, MC shit.
No. This is
so Eminem could go out there and say super lava 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 lava, and that's lyricism.
This is word usage and verbalism. So I don't want to discount what Ghost is doing. It's also nonsensical, but
that's a style choice. We know he can make sense.
No. That's a stylistic choice.
Yeah.
I'm saying all of this to say is that, how about this? The only albums that I know that are better than It Was Written when I go back and listen to it are the albums that were clearly bigger. Like clearly bigger.
Death Certificate?
How about this? I think Death Certificate and It Was Written are comps, and I think those are top 20 albums. When I'm saying bigger, I mean, like, oh no, I think Get Rich or Die Trying probably gonna take It Was Written down.
Yeah.
It Takes a Nation of Millions gonna take It Was Written down. Doggy Style, The Low End Theory, The Chronic, Enter the Wu-Tang, The Purple Tape.
Those are heavy hitters.
Like, you gotta have a heavy hitter album, because here's what people forget about this is like, no. If I Rule the World is on this album, so his biggest hit is on his best mic performance, Mike.
Kind of giving you everything.
If he's the best MC ever, this is his second biggest selling album. It's got its biggest hit, and it's got arguably his 3 best mic performances on it, because I do think I Gave You Power, Take It in Blood, and Silent Murder are arguably his 3 best mic performances. Maybe Nas is like In New York State of Mind, Memory Lane come to mind, but in argument with those. So it's like, well, his best lyrical performances are on here. His biggest songs are on here. His best stories might be on here. The shoot-ups.
Well, that's when he became the storyteller that we know.
So how about this? What album got stories like the setup and shootouts before It Was Written? Because I swear every New York rapper, including Big, had crime stories after this, but not before this.
That's fair.
New York niggas wasn't telling crime stories before It Was Written. Not on record. I think Spot Rushers on the Purple Tape is probably the only crime story that precedes It Was Written where I'm like, okay.
Well, shit, we need to research that. Let me get to the rest of these super chats.
There's the G-Rap shit.
Of course.
There's the G-Rap shit.
But yeah, Jermaine Johnson also said after the backwards part, he said, but it sounded amazing. Enough to flex and let niggas know how nice he is. Okay, so he acknowledged that part. Peter Parks in the super chat says, It Was Written's magic is also in the sound and the approach to the sound. It's gritty but slick like a pop album. Okay. 36 Chambers in the super chat says, Supreme is a top 20 all-time hip-hop album, but It Was Written could arguably be in the top 10 slot. I prefer Supreme, but I understand why people say It Was Written wins that. I feel the same way.
Stillmatic might be better than Supreme too, Mike.
I disagree with that too. CJ Kidd with the super chat
Song
says,
for song.
Liquid Swords was number 14, Supreme was 13, Ready to Die was 12.
Yeah.
That's the next matchup for It Was Written.
I think it's in that wheelhouse, yeah.
88 Spencer with the super chat says, in 96, I was 26 years old. I bought It Was Written when I was in London. I thought Nas was the greatest ever. Leroy Green with the $20 super chat showing love says, what's up, my guys? I'm late, but competition for It Was Written was All Eyes on Me, and that's where things got spicy because they had the same beat in one song, but Pac had better production. Nas was lyrically superior. Supreme was fine art. Definitely was. MC with super chat says Nas was spazzing on Nas Is Coming. Esquire with the super chat says Stillmatic and Supreme might be a closer comparison. Okay, so people want to do that. 36 Chambers says, when y'all did It Was Written and Supreme versus, it was close. I think Supreme beats Stillmatic with ease. Leroy Green with another super chat says, Coop, what makes Supreme special is the fact it's nonsensical. It's probably the only album in rap where the artist himself don't even know what he's talking about. 2000 was about being different. He knows what he's talking about.
No, I mean, Supreme is great. I just think it's argumentative, and I think that speaks to the stature of It Was Written, because here's the thing about it. The thing where It Was Written got unfair media coverage was because, well, if you felt like Illmatic was one of the greatest rap albums that you ever heard, think about it. This is 1996.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the Vibe review. It's like, well, this album isn't, I believe, By All Means Necessary is what they brought up.
Mm-hmm.
The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick.
That it's not. But song for song.
And Paid in Full and It Takes a Nation.
Well, they came with some heavy hitters.
They came with the heavy hitters, Mike.
Yeah.
They came with 4 of arguably the 5 best albums of the era.
Of that time, specifically.
But what time proved past 96 is it actually, well, no, Mike, Illmatic actually is better than all of those albums. And the only album...
Other than Paid in Full and The Great Adventures, I don't know if it's better than that.
See, that's the thing, Mike. When you're saying that, it's like, oh, song for song, The Great Adventures don't hold up next to Illmatic.
The heavy hitters on The Great Adventures are hard to ignore.
No. The heavy hitters, heavy hitters win. But this is what I'm saying is like, how about this? The first 2 songs, the first 3 songs. How about this? Children's Stories is up against The World Is Yours.
The World Is Yours. Oh, you're talking about Illmatic. I thought you were talking about It Was Written.
Oh yeah, It Was Written is better than. No, I'm talking about what they were saying about Illmatic.
Oh, what they were saying. Okay.
They were saying Illmatic wasn't that, and I'm like, well, Illmatic.
Okay, I thought you were saying that they said that about It Was Written.
No.
Oh, okay.
They started off. Okay, so the Vibe article in 1996 starts off by talking about Illmatic, of saying that Illmatic is a classic. They said it was a classic because it brought back lyrics and lyricism to hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
But they said it wasn't classic in the sense of a Paid in Full, It Takes a Nation, The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick, and By All Means Necessary. So they had hit Illmatic with some second-tier classic status in 1996. So understand in 1996?
In 96, I'm getting confused. You talking about Illmatic or you talking about It Was Written?
Illmatic. They're talking.
They're talking about in the 96 review. Gotcha.
In the 96 review of It Was Written, this is how they're contextualizing the previous album. As in,
gotcha.
It's a classic, but it ain't like that.
Okay.
So you see how they already
They were already hating.
Right, because you're talking about Illmatic like this 2 years after Illmatic, and it's like, no, like how about this? It was maybe not considered to be the greatest rap album of all time then in 96, but
give it some time.
It was, how about this, Mike? It was clearly conversational.
Yeah.
It was clearly conversational. It was one of the best rap albums that you had ever heard.
John with the super chat says, Ye had the best albums of the 2000s. Stop it, Mike. See, I didn't want to bring Ye in the conversation, but hey.
I bought My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So
the college dropout, man. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, just in case you guys feel It Was Written is better than Ready to Die, well, at number 11 is The Infamous. How do you feel about that matchup? 007 with the super chat says, Pac was studying It Was Written. all anyone needs to know. Is that all anyone needs to know? He said that's all anyone needs to know. I mean, we can leave it there.
Right, but I just
do need to
hold on. But I just say all this to say,
contextualize it was written.
think about this. So they tried to slide Illmatic down before they even started talking about it was written. So it's like they tried to make it. Oh, and then I believe they said it wasn't as impactful as the Chronic, Doggy Style, and Enter the Wu-Tang.
Oh, it's funny.
Right, so you see how they kind of slid it down, like almost to like outside the top 10 rap albums of all time, and that was what they did to Illmatic.
That was intentional.
Right, that was intentional to place it was written further back. But what I'm saying is what has happened over time is even if you don't think Illmatic is the best rap album of all time, that's a top 5 rap album, Mike.
Yeah, straight up.
Ain't no way it's not a top 5 rap album.
And It Was Written continues to climb because a lot of people feel like It Was Written is even better than Illmatic.
And even if you think it was written in that far behind, if this guy made a top 5 rap album, the other album made that far behind, I mean that album probably about 15 to 20.
007 with the super chat says Big responded to It Was Written. That's all anyone needs to know.
So I'm gonna say this, and we can leave it right here. I want all the hip hop heads to go listen to the setup and then go listen to Niggas Bleed and tell me that Big's not studying Nas on It Was Written.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. John with the super chat says 808s and Heartbreaks was a fire classic as well. Shout out to John.
Don't let John super chat.
Shout out to John. He's telling the truth. 808s and Heartbreaks ain't a classic.
It's not good.
It's a classic.
It's not even any good.
It's a classic, though.
It's got 3 good songs.
It's a classic. Is it not? It changed the game.
Changing the game and being a classic.
You have to be a classic to change the game.
That's not true. That's why hip hop is changing. It used to be that you had to make a classic to change the
impact.
game. No, you don't have to do that anymore.
CJ Kidd with the super chat
How about
says,
this? You never really had to do it because Tupac changed the game before he ever made a classic album.
Well, I mean, different things can be true. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be all those encompassing things. The album itself changed it. Tupac changed it, not the album. That's what I'm saying. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, Coop, what did you say about It Was Written versus The Infamous?
Oh, I didn't want to say anything.
And Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, did 50 ever respond to Clyde Smith? Yeah, I heard him respond. He said something about, dirty Staten Island niggas taking roaches out of the cereal box. I forgot what 50 song that was. And back then, I'm super Supreme clientele. I'm like, man, fuck 50.
First of all, I wouldn't mess with Wu-Tang ever.
No, never, man. But shout out to 50, man. He made an incredible career out of it.
50's great, man.
50's incredible.
You want to know what I thought about? And it's funny that you're bringing up 50. I've said that Drake is hip-hop's best hook writer ever, but it might be 50.
I'm not mad at that.
It might be 5th. Because here's the thing about it. When Drake gives you a hook, you kind of got to jump into Drake's world.
Yeah.
Like a diced pineapples. 50 give you a hook that you need.
On some street shit.
Like, no. Like Lloyd Banks needed a hit.
Yeah.
So 50 literally turned the roof on fire.
I think 50's hook game is more versatile than Drake's because he can give you some street shit.
Right.
Drake can't really get you no street hooks.
Buck needed a club banger.
Yeah.
So 50 gave it to him. And then Buck needed some like street shit. So like I'm a bona fide hustler. Nigga, get out of line, I cut. Like, you can't get that from Drake. And so when I was thinking about 50's hook game, and then I was thinking about our conversation, remember when we were playing Get Rich or Die Trying, and we were like, this nigga's doing all these hooks on a solo mission.
Yeah.
It's like,
he didn't need anybody on that album, honestly.
And then I started playing some of the hooks on Beg for Mercy, like popping them things and Want to Get to Know You. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, this nigga hook game is
Joe is on Want to Get to Know You.
I'm pretty certain 50 wrote that hook.
But yeah, 50's hook game is crazy.
What's the other? I know you don't love me.
Oh, yeah. Great hook.
Because you ain't the same. Oh, yeah. His hook game is nasty.
I mean, listen,
did he write
man,
21 Questions?
Probably so.
He writing all these hooks, too.
Yeah.
Mike, Joe didn't write I Want to Get to Know You. Like, 50 wrote that hook, I'm telling you.
Think 50 wrote that?
I do.
We need some more information on that for the people that were involved with it.
But people think I give 50, like, a lot of flack, and, like, sometimes I do, but it's like, oh, no, he might be the best hook writer in hip-hop history, and that crossed my mind today.
I think 50, and, I was just talking about Nelly's accomplishments last week, giving Nelly his flowers, and we gave Juvenile his flowers today. I'm going to also say that I think 50 probably has one of the best comeback stories we've ever seen. I mean, the getting shot 9 times, getting dropped by Columbia, just being blackballed on every end in New York City.
Let's work in order.
And having to go out.
Let's work in order. Dropped, blackballed, shot.
All that.
Dropped, blackballed, shot in that order.
Blackballed a few times, right?
We're going to go with the first blackball.
Right. And then come back to New York, the biggest nigga in the city.
But also,
it's incredible, man.
But also, too, rare access, because how many guys from New York have gotten access to Eminem and Nas in their prime?
No, it's true. But his talent got him there.
And that's exactly what I was about to bring up. Well, guys like Nas and Eminem don't fuck with regular ass rappers.
50's nowhere near regular.
It's a great MC.
You know, a lot of people felt like the genius of the three-headed monster, right? You got Dre, M,
50 was going to be 50.
Exactly.
It just wasn't going to go diamond.
The thing is,
but he was going to go. How about this? He could have volume 2'd it. He would have did 5, but he wasn't going to do 10 without them. But he was going to do 5.
No, what I was going to say was the fact that you can't just put anybody in there and think that they're going to have the success that 50 had.
Rakim.
Eminem, right. Eminem signed a lot of people. None of them are 50. 50's a one-on-one. You know what I'm saying?
See, but here's the thing. M signed 50 because M's ahead and knew that 50 was 50. Like,
they needed each other, but M needed 50 more than we
Do you remember
recognized.
Power of the Dollar?
Yeah.
Power of the Dollar is an above-average rap album.
Yeah.
Like, that's a board. I wouldn't give it a 4, but it's like a 3.75.
And that's him in his development stage. Like I was talking about T.I. with I'm Serious.
Right. It's very I'm Serious. How about this? The Power of the Dollar is better than I'm Serious.
It is.
And so 50's curve, if Tip and like 50 are on like the same curve, it's like, no. 50 was ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so
the talent was there.
If you go and listen to, like, as a Nas fan, going and listening to those Braveheart and Nature and all those joints that 50 was on, it's like, oh no, I didn't just like 50 because he was rolling with Nas. It's like, no, I heard a dude that could rap on these records.
And what was great about...
He out-rapped these dudes except for Nas on these records, so...
What was great about, you know, the pairing with Dr. Dre and Eminem, for them, they got a seasoned new artist. He was developed. They got a developed new artist.
Man, this dude, this dude had already rolled with Onyx.
You couldn't ask for anything better.
Look, he had already rolled with Onyx. He had already been on tour with Nas. When Nas and R. Kelly went on tour, 50 was there. I was at the show.
Yeah. He was a vet, but kind of a new artist to the masses.
So think about it.
It was a perfect combination.
He had already been with a multi-platinum group, multi-platinum artist. He's already from one of the biggest boroughs. He had already made a whole fucking album, and he had a series of mixtapes lighting the streets on fire. Very few people have walked into a situation as game ready as 50.
Exactly.
People acting like 50 pulling from half court. It's like, no, 50 learned how to shoot from half court. That nigga couldn't hit a free throw when he came in.
Esquire with the super chat says, y'all forgot about Bun's best features on Monday. Big Pimpin', Sipping on Some Scissor, Break 'Em Off, Retaliation, BG, Uptown, Drake, I give you Uptown, Give Me That with Webby, forgot about Give Me That with Webby, Carter 4, and Outro. Now, what we were doing, Esquire, we were actually counting the ones without Pimp C, because those are UGK features, but I see you. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, the Power theme song is the best I've ever heard. One of the best theme songs ever. Disco King Mario was honored a couple of days ago, which would have been his, I think, 67th birthday. And so, yeah.
Shout out Carolina.
Shout out to Carolina. Shout out to Bronxdale, too. And I'm glad they're doing this. I want to speak to more of his family. I know in our previous conversation about Disco King Mario, and for you guys who don't know who Disco King Mario is, you could do a quick Google search or do a quick YouTube search, because I don't want to go under that rabbit hole today. But he got a street named after him on his birthday, and I'm glad that people are finally recognizing his contributions. One question that I had, and I don't understand, and I kind of want to put my investigative journalism hat on for this, because I know there's a lot of people out there who could tell us the real. If hip-hop really has its origins in Bronxdale projects, why isn't that story told more often? And why do we always get the, the Sedgwick Ave story as opposed to Bronxdale and their contributions to hip-hop? Like, why is that happening? Especially we're talking about Hip Hop 50, right? I haven't heard Disco King Mario's name in any of these Hip Hop 50 mainstream, I guess, history lessons that they're giving about hip hop.
Well, education is based on information.
Mm-hmm.
Information is based on who is delivering. And so let's take a speech like Busta Rhymes' speech. Notice how the only pioneer that he shouted out was Kool Herc, who happened to be what?
Jamaican,
Like who?
like Busta.
That's how these things happen. People take their moments of notoriety to highlight the people in the moments that they want to highlight. And so, and I'm not being funny when I say this, what happened to King Disco Mario and his legacy is that this is really what happens when you leave your tribe and build a tribe around dudes that's not from where you from. Because had he had, and I'm not being funny, I'm not saying this because I'm from North Carolina, because my family from the Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina. Oh, if he would have had some North Carolina people with him, like, I don't know, like somebody like a Frank Lucas brought his North Carolina people up with him.
Yeah.
You see how they stories get told different. Everybody know who Frank is and what he did.
Yeah, that's true.
Frank went and brought his people with him.
King
Disco Mario, he kind of went on a solo mission, and what happened is that New Yorkers, to a degree, preyed on the solo mission because he ain't had no people.
They kind of phased him out of history.
We don't
feels
believe you. You need more people.
But I hear what you're saying there. But
No,
why
that's
is
real.
Bronxdale, the whole project housing, why is that left out of the story? That's the problem I have. I don't understand.
Because they would rather New York get credit
Than give it to Bronxdale and
have to say that a North Carolina dude created hip hop for them. Correct.
and put Africa Bambaataa on.
Are you
Africa Bambaataa trained
used to
under
carry
him.
his records, right?
Used to carry his records.
Correct.
Herc used to go to his park jams before he did his own
Correct.
park jams.
As a purveyor,
Yeah.
audience member.
I don't understand how that gets left out of history.
No, you do understand how it gets left out.
I want to get to the bottom of it. I want to talk to the people in Bronxdale, the people who were there, because a lot of people have actually reached out to us and want to tell their side. I think that Disco King Mario definitely deserves, more than that.
I mean, people.
And I want the story to be told by the people that were there.
People just fundamentally got to be willing to admit the truth about why they've been withholding the information.
Yeah.
See, I get you wanting to cover the story, but the story really doesn't want to work unless people really want to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is that, and this is not just unto New York, because I seen it in Cali. It's like, oh no, if you're not from there, you could come. How about this, Mike? KD spent 3 years with the Golden State Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
He was clearly the best player on the floor almost every night he stepped on the court.
That's Steph's house.
Did they ever treat him the way they treated Steph? 2 finals MVPs and on the verge of a third, and when he was last seen on the court was busting Kawhi Leonard's ass, had literally 5 for 5 for 10 points.
You know what it reminds me of?
Matter of fact, Mike, do the Warriors lose the finals if Steph get hurt and KD is healthy?
No.
Hell
I don't
no.
think so.
Hell no.
I don't have any real evidence to that, but I would say
I got evidence to that shit. It's called fucking like 11 all NBA first teams, 27,000 points, 2 finals MVPs, regular season.
I haven't seen him
being able to bust LeBron ass for 30 to 40 points consistently at will in his prime.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
That's
I
hard
seen
to
that.
actually,
He averaged 30 points against LeBron when he was 23 years
finals?
old. 30
one,
points?
though?
No, not in one, but at
Okay.
23 years old, he averaged 30 points with LeBron guarding him. It's like
Yes.
the grown version of him was averaging 35 against LeBron. It's a prime LeBron. So it's like, but I say that to say for all of that, did he get treated anything like Steph was getting treated?
It's not his house.
Not his house. So is Bronxdale Disco King Mario's house?
He brought it to prominence. He changed the culture over there. It reminds me of what Jason Williams did
How Luda
in
get treated down
Sacramento.
here? How Luda get treated down here, Mike?
I think Luda gets treated very well here.
But do he get treated, and do we talk about him the way we talk about Outkast, the way we talk about Goody, the way we talk about Tip?
If he was
it do got
first, he
something.
would.
No, it got something to do with him not being from here.
You
though,
think
too.
so?
Hell yeah, Mike. Everybody know he from Illinois down here.
I don't think we hold that against Luda.
We're not
though.
holding it against him, but do we hold him as high as we hold Outkast, Goody, and Tip? No.
Well, see,
That's some ATL shit.
I think the difference is what your music means to the market, right?
He's
Like
the first
I think
one to make this market actually an industry.
But look at Jeezy and Gucci though. You know what I mean? Like they're not technically from the A, but they get that love. You know what I'm saying? I think it's more about the music on that one. Like we don't treat Gucci or Jeezy like they're out of towners, in a sense.
Luda doesn't get treated like an out of towner.
Okay.
But does he get notarized? Think about this.
He gets more notarized from people out of town. That's the slippery slope there.
That's what I'm saying. I told you, Mike, I didn't like pulling up in New York and being like, Coop, Coop, Coop. I was like, these niggas don't say shit to me on the south side or the east side of Atlanta. Be out here all the time. I don't get no Coop, 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 Coop. It'd be like, who is this nigga? That's all I get.
MC with the super chat says, could do a top 10, 50 hook sometimes. Could do that. John Phillips with the super chat says, Heavy D had the best song
I like that
for In Living Color. Hey, that's a good one.
What?
Heavy D might have the best theme song. In Living Color. He killed that shit. I've always said Living Single.
The bar work is stellar.
I've always said the Living Single. I think the theme song is probably the best theme song of sitcoms.
Are we talking hip-hop or are we talking period?
I was talking period, but that's a hip-hop one, right? Where Queen Latifah's spitting or whatever and got the hook there, got the beat. But it's In Living Color with Heavy D. Heavy D was spitting on there.
Going to hit you with some bar work, Mike. Golden Girls got a cold-ass theme song.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Those are bars.
Your heart is true.
You're a pal and a confidant. Those are bars, Mike. Those are bars. I don't know who country ass. Those are bars, Mike.
What about the Give Me a Break theme song? I'm dating myself right now.
You are.
Give me a break. I don't want to get
no. That's a little disco-ish. Golden Girls got that classic bar work theme. That's like Rakim, like in '88 with "Thank You for Being a Friend." Traveled up the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant.
It's good. Yeah. They used to have good theme songs.
And if they threw a party and invited everyone you knew, you would see the greatest gift would be for me, and the card attached would say, "Yeah, that's bars. Those are bars, son."
We see who the Golden Girl fan is.
Golden Girls, Fresh Prince.
I like Fresh Prince. I think that theme song is slightly overrated.
It's a story.
Yeah, it is.
How many theme songs have stories, Mike? How many theme songs have stories? It's a whole story.
It is a story. It tells you the whole story about the show.
Because it tells you about him, because like I've often said about him, that's a dope MC and is one of the better storytellers of all time still. He's one of the best rap storytellers ever. I don't care what you say. Maybe I just
got tired of it. Maybe
you got tired of all the notoriety.
Jermaine Johnson with the super chat.
Fresh Prince better than Living Single.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Fresh Prince intro better.
Keep your head up. What? Keep your head up. That's right. The beat is better. All right.
And you just got on me for thank you for being a friend. You got a lot of nerve.
The hook is better on the Living Single theme song. The beat is better. But the bar work is actually better on the Fresh Prince.
See, everybody's with me on the Golden Girls, by the way.
Okay, Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, Disco King is what Jeff Daniels is to the moonwalk.
Hold on.
Shout out to Jeff Daniels.
Kaya with Cheers. I like me some Cheers.
I thought about Cheers when you were quoting that.
Cheers is bars. 227. Amen had some bar work.
I was singing the Amen theme song the other day.
Amen had the whole choir. That's the church in the house.
36.
Different strokes.
Different strokes is good.
Different strokes.
36 Chambers with the $20 super chat showing love says, Mike, that Sedgwick origin story exists specifically because that's the first gathering they considered to be a hip-hop event. I wonder if King Mario isn't highlighted due to contributing a piece, but not the whole. No disrespect.
No,
I do think that there's something there as far as the documentation, right? The lack of documentation is why the Sedgwick gets that notoriety.
How about this? Because that's the rec room on Sedgwick, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think and I remember this from the rec room that was off Beatty's Ford, like around the corner from West Charlotte when I lived in the neighborhood.
The Jeffersons.
You gotta rent out the rec room.
Yeah.
Which means you have to sign paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
So is this about contracts?
Possibly.
Because, well, here's the thing about it. When all the historians of hip-hop pull up, they talk about the word of mouth, not the contract of it. Yeah. And the word of mouth says that Mario was doing parties.
He did a whole Park Jam tour the summer of 71, I think.
Still 71.
It was definitely before 73.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So it's like, that's what used to matter. It's like, you didn't find out about graffiti artists and parties. It's not like it was making the New York Times, Mike.
Right. Yeah. It was word of mouth.
It's like, yeah, King Disco Mario and his set man, African Bambaataa, are throwing this party in Bronxdale Projects tonight.
Be there. You know
the
what I mean?
nerve. You
Yeah.
understand how absurd it sounds? Well, it's like, well, it's documented right here that they did that. It's like, oh, I think that was the moment. How about this? Bambaataa deserves credit for actually maybe leveling it up. Maybe has somebody that was carrying the records, that was maybe watching some. How about this? Because when you get to be the right hand, like when you don't sit on the throne, you get to watch all the little dirty pieces of the throne that nobody else see. So Mario might have been doing these parties, but he might not have been the best businessman. It might not have been as organized. But something made Bambaataa see what Mario was doing and saying, hey, let's put it in a facility maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And does he deserve credit for that? Yes. So is he part of the ante up? Like, as in, like, you know, well, we sitting at a $100 table with a $50 buy-in. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, did the quote Jay and Can I Live, did African Bambaataa maybe take us to them tables that cost a G up? It's like, yeah, but did he create the tables and be the first nigga sit at the table? It's like,
Well, the
nah.
thing is, man, like, even when we talk about Jay, we know about Jazz. We know about, you know, his connection.
Well,
to
he
Kane.
doesn't hide it.
Exactly, and that's my problem.
Had
with,
the chain with the anchor when Jazz made Sophie. Then I went low key, but now I'm back. It's on, motherfuckers.
Like, I would expect that I would have heard of Disco King Mario from Bam. I've never heard him.
Now, why would he? This is what I'm like. Why would he do that?
I mean, because it's about hip hop culture, right?
It's not about the male ego at all.
I mean, this guy put you on, man. Like, it shouldn't even, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mike, would you rather be in history's annals in your own fucking neighborhood, the guy that carried the crates for the creator, or be known as the creator? What path you choosing if you have the chance to control the narrative?
You're right.
You think African Bambaataa about to sit up here and be like, yeah, I used to carry crates for Mario. I'm so happy to be second in line and shit. Or you think
he gave him his equipment.
Where in history do that work?
I heard he gave him his equipment too. I could be wrong. You know what I mean? His first DJing equipment, that's special. You know what I mean? Like, Bam's legacy is based on him being the DJ that he is. And the guy that gave you your first piece of equipment should get those props. I saw a meme the other day, right? They were saying Dr. Dre from Yo MTV Raps, and shout out to Dr. Dre. He's a hip hop pioneer that I don't think gets that kind of credit.
Doctor with the full doctor spelling.
With the full doctor. He taught Rick Rubin how to program the drum machine. I never knew that. He should get more credit for that. This is Rick Rubin.
Damn right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the things that I would expect to hear from the actual individuals as opposed to hearing from somewhere else. Like I said, it didn't take Jazz to tell us that he put Jay on. You know what I mean? Like, you'll hear that from Jay, even if you missed the Jazz period.
People be out here making choices, though, Mike. And what I'm trying to say to you is that look what being, quote, unquote, the founder of hip-hop has done for African Bambaataa's life.
Yeah.
I mean, not to be funny.
Or one of the founders. Because they put him and her.
How about this? How about this? Even quoted by Andre on 13th Floor, started by Africa Bambaataa, so you and your partner. Right. Yeah. So traditionally looked at as the founder or one of the three founders.
Yeah.
Right? Is his life the same if he says, I didn't start this, I just carried crates for the guy that started? Does he have the same life? Does he have the same influence? Mike, is he able even... Hold on, listen. Is he able even to employ the same nefarious scheme that he employed without having that? You get what I'm saying? See, you got to look at who men really are and then look at who they become and understand their motives. You see, him taking that spot enabled him to do a lot of things, and a lot of them were not good. And he always had those intentions because, like I be telling you, Mike, the difference between murder and manslaughter is intent. And you can't tell me that his intent at any point was to let this man be the founder of hip hop, or we would have heard something. His intent was to put himself at the forefront, and look what he did with the power. He acted and behaved like his oppressors.
The universe has a way of working things out. Leroy Green with the super chat says, Coop, there's a video of Pusha and Malice recording a response to Capo. It doesn't sound like Jim Jones has much to worry about. Just saying, respectfully. Wait a minute. We got to hear the full song. Do you think that there's any way?
Leroy,
do you think there's any way that Jim Jones wins this matchup with Pusha and Malice?
No, I don't. Where Leroy at? Leroy, you in?
I want to have Jim Jones on the show.
York, you in New York recording with the homies, Leroy? What's up?
I want to have Jim Jones on the show. I would love to hear what Jim Jones has to say about this. And yeah, man, it looks like Jim's up right now. We just got to keep it real.
Is that what it looks like?
I mean, I'm the guy who consistently reminds people that Eminem hasn't responded to the Black Slim Shady.
Jim's birthday is the 15th.
So Jim's birthday is the 15th of this month?
Mm-hmm.
You think they're releasing it on the 15th? I think Coop got some inside information over here.
All I'm saying is that his birthday is on the 15th.
Of July, right?
Correct. He's a Cancer.
Okay. Well, Dr. Dre's getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Congratulations to Dr.
Dr.
Dre.
Period, not the Dr. Dre.
Oh, yeah. That could be confusing.
Clarify your Dr.
Dr.
Dre. We used to have to do that when we were kids. Remember when we used to do that when you was kids? It's like Dr. Dre, be like MTV Raps. No, it used to be MTV Raps Dr. Dre or producer Dr. Dre. Because this is before Dr. Dre was a rapper.
Exactly.
This is before the Chronic.
Both of them are producers. But, but I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying.
Yo, I thought he already had one. This is kind of like the Tupac thing. I guess because I've seen him up there with 50. I've seen him up there with Snoop. I guess I was just assuming Dr. Dre already had a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He was up there with Cube, too, wasn't he?
So, Ice Cube, thank you. Ice Cube, 50, Eminem, and Snoop.
And Tupac, too. But yeah.
Well, didn't nobody go to Tupac's.
Right. Nobody was. No, yeah.
Didn't nobody go to Tupac's. It's funny how that happened.
DJ Khaled got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame before Dr. Dre.
Ain't nobody talking about all that. I want to talk about the fact that
I just had to throw that in. Shout out to Khaled.
There are guys who the reason they have the star is Dr. Dre. How you gonna...
Listen, man, I love Pitbull, right? And Ron will tell you, man, I was fucking with Pitbull early.
They like the BET awards are like notoriety. It's like, what is wrong with these? Like,
but when I saw Pitbull get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame super early in his career, I was like, wait.
No.
What is this really about? And that made me really do some research on the stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You contribute funds and you get a star. I'm paraphrasing here, but yeah, that has something to do with it. You have to make a contribution to an organization, and then it works out from there. So I kind of looked at it different. But again, it was the Pitbull.
So what you're saying is that Dr. Dre isn't much of a philanthropist, is what you're saying.
Well, I guess he just didn't give to them.
Didn't give these niggas money.
I guess it wasn't part of his plan. He's like, I need a star too. Fuck it. Let me just get one.
Money.
Yeah. So. But yeah, he has one. I think it's going to be another star-studded event. I'm sure that Eminem's probably going to do the, induction, or maybe Jimmy Iovine.
I've just been hearing all of these guys talk about Tupac for all this time, so none of them were.
Do you think we're going to get another Dr. Dre album at some point?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I think that's done.
Yeah. I was on that train before I was even on the Outkast train. We're never going to get
You've been
another.
told me that's a wrap.
Yeah, it's not happening.
I actually have agreed with you on that. I've told you that there's like a sliver. That sliver's just like now. It's
what
like,
would be the most shocking album you think that we would be able to get in hip hop?
Based on what?
Based on disband groups or inactive artists.
That's easy.
I got one.
You first.
Andre 3000 solo rap album.
I'm talking about realistic things. There
Oh,
you go
okay,
with-
things that actually
there,
could happen.
There you go with this unicorn and cotton candy ass shit. No.
Well, what were you gonna say?
I was thinking G Unit will never do another album, even though all their artists are technically kind of around and viable
And
in some
active.
sort of way. Because think about it, Banks is active, 50 stay in some shit. And, you know, Buck has resurfaced. Game technically still around. Yayo's been around. So technically speaking, I would say that G Unit.
What about a Jay-Z album? Does that constitute as surprising at this point?
That might not be a unicorn. That might be more like a Pegasus.
Because I just noticed that Holy Grail celebrated 10 years the other day. It's been 10 years since Holy Grail. And that's his second to last solo album.
Ain't nobody trying to remember that.
And then you got 444. I don't think we're going to get another Jay-Z album, to be perfectly honest
It's going to
with
go
you.
like the last two.
And I'm just saying that, I'm saying that respectfully. I just think that that's probably not where his, head is.
That's cool.
Yeah.
He's
done. Yeah, his catalog still exceeds pretty much everybody, with the exception of Nas. But
I mean, and that exception just happened, in real time for us while we've been doing this show.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would. But you know what? Saying all that to say, would I love for Jay-Z to go on a run that Nas just went on? I would love that. I think that would be incredible for the culture.
Right. Well, you want to know.
But I don't think that's gonna happen.
Well, it's kind of like, what I did like about the First Take thing is how, like, they did the Kobe and Jay thing and then the Nas and Tim Duncan thing because they both had 5 rings. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, but those guys had to stop playing.
Yep.
It's like one guy didn't stop playing and went and got some more rings.
That's why the Brady.
That's why, and that's where the
most
Brady
sense.
thing comes in. But also, too, it's like, it's very Kareemish. Child prodigy. Championship ring, MVP early. Listen, championship
Hit Boy
ring.
being Magic.
Listen, championship ring and MVP early, and then a gap. Like you're still winning a couple MVPs here or there, but there's a gap between the rings.
Yeah.
But then you start collecting a bunch of rings again.
Yep.
So it's like it is very Kareem-like. Is that like Kareem's first 5 years were the best 5 years that you see, much like his, and then it was kind of like a gap where it was like, no, still clearly one of the best players, but other guys were winning MVPs on him, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then Magic came and it was like, oh, got a couple more MVPs and got 5 more rings.
Incredible. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, "How is Jim up? Pusha dissed and rollout was better." Okay. He got to respond, I think, is why we're saying he's up at this point, right? It was subliminal versus, I guess Jim's was subliminal too.
See,
it's a little bit more direct.
See, to keep this back to this, I've learned in these battles because of what I went through in Greensboro, because of the takeover, not to ever get too high or too low until you hear the response.
I agree with that.
Hold on. First of all, and I remembered this too, because it's funny that we're bringing this up. I remember my boy Byron telling me that Nas was done. Trio.
Calling out names.
Yeah, I am. Trio, what up, Trio? I was Trio in the Bahamas with his family. Trio's the homie. He's a rocket scientist, one of the smartest brothers I ever met. Great dude.
Oh, nice.
Me and Trio still talk via social media. Flip, Sean Friday, DJ Twan Love. All up in Greensboro. We outside a Twan Love crib, and niggas is telling me that Nas is done after they hear the takeover. And not being funny, that always stayed with me that they told me he was done, because I was like, he's not done.
Can't be.
It's like, that's not even possible.
And even at your point, even if you slightly believe that, you wouldn't want to believe that as a fan.
That's how Big J was. That's how great the takeover was. And I'm like, oh, I remember how they got at me, and I was like, oh no, never, ever. Like, wait for the response. Because you never know. Remember when the whole Meek and Drake thing was buzzing and people was like, and then it was like, oh, well, Meek, I was one of those people. I was like, man, Drake in all types of trouble. I was like, and then back to back came, and I was like, Meek has 48 hours.
Nah, man, Charged Up got me. Y'all don't really like Charged Up like that.
I like Charged Up, but it's like when I heard back to back, I was like,
I tend to like the warm-up records. I like the Stillmatics.
You like the Stillmatic freestyle.
I like the warm-up stuff.
How about this? You know what? I like... I'm not the type... You tend to like the stuff that you don't do. I'm not like a petty cheap shot person. I just like to shoot. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I like the petty cheap shots before Jay and Nas more than I liked it being on. But when it was on, it was like, oh, I guess.
I like infrared. I like the setups, man. I
do like infrared.
Yeah.
See, but I feel like Exodus is the setup. I feel like infrared is like that. That's that Joe Frazier uppercut, like to the body. It's like all up in here.
Well, I'm looking forward to the response. AB Studio says Dre put his album on GTA last year, and nobody cared. Huh.
No. I got those records. It was only 5 records for one.
Yeah.
And they wasn't like totally like Dre records. And also, too, you want to know what? People got to understand. So, my cousin who put me on the hip hop, Vici, he turns 50 this Friday.
Happy birthday, Vici.
The guy who put me on the hip hop is 50.
Mm-hmm.
He's 8 years my senior. He's Dr. Dre's demographic. 50-year-olds don't be out here like, like a 50-year-old man is thinking about a lot of things, but on the average day, he's probably not thinking about contributing to.
When's Dr. Dre coming out?
Right. He probably not like I know where Vici is right now. Like that nigga is not thinking, man, hope that detox drops so cuz Coop can cover it. That is not what that nigga is thinking. Now, on the other hand, his son, who thinks Future's the greatest rapper ever, and is only 30, no, that nigga viable.
Yeah.
Out here.
Yeah.
You feel me? And so Future gets to make albums still, because although Cuz is a Slick Rick, Public Enemy, LL, NWA fan, his son was raised down here. His son's a Future fan.
When did people stop, I don't want to say caring, but stop anticipating a detox release?
I think there just becomes an age bracket for your audience, and we're seeing this. This is why I bring up the streams, is it's like, well, you don't have to invest to support. You know what I mean? That's what I mean about the streams. It's like, oh no, like you can support your artist and not even paying attention. I told you, Mike, oftentimes I will literally cut on my stereo downstairs and stream music, and I'll be upstairs cooking dinner or talking to my daughter or getting ready for the next day or getting ready for this show on the iPad, and music will be playing downstairs where I'm streaming my favorite artist on a playlist, because I understand what it means now, even though I'm not. Like, how about this? Very few artists make me jump anymore at this age at 41 years old. At 41, very few artists make me jump. Most of them are not rap artists.
Right.
Like, the thing that would excite me most right now is if I would hear her had an album coming out, if you want to know the truth. You know what I'm saying? Or if somebody told me that they found some archive footage of Prince that I hadn't seen yet.
Right.
That would excite me more. You know what I'm saying? Than anything right now. That's just the space I'm in as a 41-year-old. I tell people oftentimes, I very much often do not listen to hip-hop unless it is required for this show. It's not anything personal.
Not an Outkast album? Let's just say hypothetically it did happen. What does an Outkast album sound like 20 years later?
No, Mike, because this is what I'm saying is like outside of like when I do my workouts and stuff, I'm not like in dire need of those things. I've already kind of like experienced those things. It's kind of full. When I hear that Nas has a project coming out, yeah, I get excited. I do think he's the greatest MC of all time. I would tell you that like when Jay comes out, I feel the same way. When M comes out, I feel the same way. But here's what I mean where my feelings are different about it now. No. Well, that's because you're a hater.
I'm not a hater. I just don't like
hater.
the music like that. But I just wanted to be clear.
Listen to what I'm saying. I'm excited about covering because I'm in a space in my life where it's like, oh, I realize who I am in this hip-hop sphere now, and it's like I'm excited about covering it because I realize...
Oh, you're talking about covering it, yeah.
Right. I get excited for different reasons now. Am I excited to listen to it? It's like, well, has somebody think Nas is the greatest MC of all time and that he's having one of the best runs of his career? Yeah, I'm excited to hear the music, but I rarely feel that way about music anymore, no matter what the genre is. It takes a lot to get me up. I'm cool when I have my vibes and my feels, when I just want to hear where I want to hear. So do I get up and have days where I want to hear Hell Hath No Fury? Yeah, and I play it. Or Death Certificate, and I play it. Yeah, or The Diary, and I play it. Yeah. No, I have those days, and when I do, I play it. But on the day-to-day, I really don't play it, and it doesn't excite me anymore.
Yeah.
I'm 41. I got other shit to think about. I'm thinking about my daughter being 2 years away from college. I'm thinking about the fact that she's talking about literally, she's like, I'm ready to go get my permit this Saturday. You nobody thinking about no damn rap album. My daughter's driving, nigga. I'm thinking about a goddamn rap album. Gotta pay for this nigga to go to school. This nigga super bright.
Well, I mean, let me say this. As far as covering a new Eminem project, I don't think that we've covered a new Eminem project yet, have we?
We did. We Music to Be Murdered By, I believe.
We did cover that.
Yeah.
Early on in the podcast.
But what I'm saying is I got excited about it because it's like, well, I know what he means to this culture for better or worse.
Oh my goodness, we got an audit. No, come
Stop
on.
that. We gotta edit that. but I know what he means to this culture, for better or for worse, and I get excited about the opportunity of exploring what his music sounds like.
Yeah.
The days of me, like I'm never gonna feel the way that I felt in 1996 again.
Right.
When Vinci's younger brother Mario 6, my cousin, they're brothers, so it's Vinci and then it's 6 and then it's me, and Vinci's 8 years older and Mario's 4 years older. Mm-hmm. Mario's riding around Boulevard Homes Project playing Muddy Waters. You know what I'm saying? On his bicycle, like in his headphones and like smoking weed all the time.
I love Muddy Waters.
And then the niggas in the neighborhood are playing ATLiens. But the dudes that I was just on the Upward Bound bus with that's from New York are playing It Was Written in Reasonable Doubt. And this dude named James, who I was in English class with, put me on the Illadelph Half-Life and said it was one of the best rap albums I was ever going to listen to. It's like, no, I'm never getting that fucking excited again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's fair.
And so, like, asking me to, like, do that consistently over a course of time, and then you're like, well, why isn't Dr. Dre making an album? It's like, well, Dr. Dre precedes me.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what I'm going through at 41, we'll go ahead and push that 10, 15 years up, and you're looking at the core people that made him go triple, quadruple platinum.
That's fair. Chris Daughtery with the Super Chat says, Coop, Nas is dropping. He said he's back in the studio. This is what I was going to say, though. I think also when you look at Outkast and you look at Dr. Dre, what they did was they showed us that we could live without their music. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
And so we've been missing the music for 20 years.
I have been.
How can you anticipate something that hasn't been happening for half of your life anyway?
This is what I mean when I'm saying I'm never going to be that kid in 96 again. Do you know how I waited for all of those guys' next albums?
Yeah.
Like a junkie.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
And we're never going to get it.
It's like, when Jay next shit? When the next Nas shit? When the next Roots joint?
Yeah.
When Redman dropping his next joint? When the next Wu-Tang joint coming out? Iron Man just came out. When, you know what I mean? No, I'm never going to be that way again.
And it's never like, you know, with artists, they don't go out there and tell you they're retired. They'll just be inactive. It's not like, you know, you get a victory lap like they did with Kobe Bryant or, you know, Jordan's final season, or even when LeBron hangs it up, or with Tom Brady or whatever. We don't even know what it's like to miss Tom Brady at this point.
And not being funny.
Peyton Manning would be a better correlation.
And not being funny, it's like also too. Here's the part of you, and maybe this is an Atlanta thing too, and not everybody's going to understand this. Is like, well, when you run into a lot of these guys for a lot of years, you end up talking to these guys for a lot of years, and not in the setting that we're in a normal setting where they don't know who you are, and you see how some of them are. That takes some of the shine off. That's why.
Does it?
Yeah. No. I'm telling you, part of the reason why I feel the way that I feel is because, not saying that they've been that way to me, because here's the thing. I'm not enamored by stars, so there have been very few people where I've been like, oh, shit, it's you. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I was in radio at 18, so I think I kind of got washed that early.
I was in a record store that had
Yeah.
artists signed to major deals at 15, 16.
Yeah.
So it's like, by the time I'm running into some people, it's like, you
it's
know,
like
what
it's
I'm
a
saying?
job at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, this is kind of what I do too.
Yeah.
And you kind of get numb to it. But I was never that guy beforehand. But even when I had been enamored somebody, like I often tell this story about, well, you know, I had a friend that I was with one time that, like, he saw Big Boy when we was out, and he was like, this is big. And he knows me, so he knows how much I love Outkast and love Big Boy, and how much he's been in the car with me listening to me play Outkast all the time.
Yeah.
And he's like, Coop, that's Big Boy, that's Big Boy. He's like, I'm going to take a picture. I'm like, go take the picture.
Yeah.
And so, look, so check this out. It's like, guess who took the picture?
I mean, you took the picture, yeah.
I took the picture. I ain't want to be in the picture. I've always been that way. Now, Big Boy, My boy just rolled up on him and asked to take the picture, and Big Boy take the picture. And that's part of why I fuck with Big Boy. Like, I've watched him live with somebody that I know be cordial and nice when he don't have to be.
Yeah. They
Mike,
got busy schedules, I'm sure.
Mike.
Yeah, Big Boy's a good dude.
Mike, it don't go that way 8 times out of 10 with these guys.
I can imagine.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so what I've really seen is the other side of that more often than not, and that does take some of the luster out of your love for the music. It's like, yeah, it's like the music good, that guy. It's like, eh.
I've always been able to separate the music from the
No, I still play their music, but what I'm saying is when you watch something live and you watch it live happen over and over again, and then you realize it's a behavior pattern.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Within the industry and within people, particularly with the men, it's like, nah, it's like you can keep that, because if you wasn't you wouldn't do that out here. You wouldn't talk that way, you wouldn't act that way. You get your ass stomped out here for that. And so it's like they get to live by different rules too. And watching them live by different rules, and some of them kind of like taking advantage of it and not caring, it's like, no, that takes the shine off when you become older and you become a grown man and you have grown things to deal with. The 14, 15-year-old me don't care about you being an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, you know, again, everybody has crazy schedules. You can just catch somebody on a bad day, honestly. You know what I mean? I think that it is kind of unfair sometimes to judge a celebrity in one moment for their whole character. You know what I mean? But if you see repeated patterns, which you may have seen, like, you know, in a record store or something, that's different.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like I've often talked about an NBA player who's not here, and it's like, well, I didn't say something to him like the first time I seen him, but when I seen him the second time, and it was the same thing, and it was in a totally different setting, in a totally different place, at a totally different time of day. But the person was doing the same exact things. It's like, oh, well, this is how you operate then.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right.
Did you hear, I know we were talking about Lupe's new song, because Lupe dropped a single called Outside. I like it. I like what Lupe's doing with the flow.
That you like it.
Why were you surprised I like it?
I want to hear your thoughts on the record first.
I like the flow that he was using. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Lupe's just really playing with his flow at this point. Pause. He's actually taking on different styles and almost kind of adapting to the current scene without totally adapting, but keeping the lyricism there. He's making it his own, and I think it's really creative. Okay. I wish he would have done some of this stuff earlier in his career, honestly.
I can agree with that to a degree, except for, you know, this is one of the things when you're dealing with him, because he's so highly intelligent and articulate, and he's so well known for his concepts and for his angles and from how he looks at things, is that, are you sure that this record isn't a satire on the current climate?
It could be.
You know,
but
because
it's still good.
Okay, because it's like when you're dealing with him, it's like, well, things are usually more than meets the eye.
It's not what they've seen.
Right, and so it's like I see and feel him fitting in, quote unquote, to the climate, but still doing the Lupe thing, as in keeping the lyricism and content high. But Mike, his conception might be his greatest gift.
I think so too. I was going to say that when you actually pointed that out.
And when he conceptualizes something and he executes it, that's usually when he's at his best, i.e. a mural. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute. Leroy Green with the super chat says, Mike, the Lupe song is actually an AI. That's him and an engineer worked on. Him and the engineer worked on. Sounds like him to me. It says AI. It's not really Lupe. Okay. Well, there it is. Once again, when it comes to Lupe, things aren't always what they seem. AI or not, it's a dope record. I like it. What were you gonna say?
I didn't love it. I liked it, but I thought it was a solid record. But I thought it was more of a satire on modern day times than him actually trying to fit in. Because here's what I asked myself when I got done listening to this record: why in the world at this stage in the game would he be trying to fit in?
AI. So it was a satire.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how it felt. It felt like he was like, I can do what. Hold on. You know how's that Lauren line go? I can do what you do. Easy. Easy.
Yeah. Well, that's Lupe flexing once again.
Yeah.
We got any new music coming up this Friday that you done heard about?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
I want to talk about at some point that Track Stars Chicago album, because that's been buzzing a lot, man. And the city of Chicago has been hollering at us like, yo, y'all got to cover this album. Y'all got to talk about this album. And so I really want to spend some time on it, probably our next show or whatever, and really break that down. Actually, one of the MCs that was on there reached out and said he want to holler at us. He's a big fan of the show. So shout out to our Chicago folks out there. Chicago is one of those real diverse cities. Reminds me a lot of Atlanta when it comes to how their scene is all over the place. You got everything from Chief Keef to Kanye to Dirk to Common. It's all over the place.
The Brat.
Yeah.
Crucial
Conflict,
Twista.
Yeah. Like the sounds of Chicago are all over the place.
Do or Die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of my city. So
no, it's very, you know what? It's very Atlanta-ish in that way, in that it has like, it has some succinct patterns, but so many styles and variations of the patterns.
So we definitely want to give Chicago some light, because I hear it's a dope record.
But you want to know what it has that all the other major cities have too? And we have it too. Like, you know, New York has boroughs.
Mm-hmm.
Cali's just, I mean.
Cali got communities.
Man, Cali got hoods, communities, cliques, segues, backways. Like that, like Cali's different. But most of your major cities, musically, like have different sections of town. Memphis is like that. Atlanta's like that.
Yep.
New York's like that. Chicago's like that. Houston's like that.
Yep. All right. Well, shit, we're going to holler.
New Orleans like that.
New Orleans is like that. We had a whole diatribe.
We had a whole talk about. Think about this. Jay Electronica and Lil Wayne from the same place.
Yeah.
That's diverse as hell.
Yeah. New Orleans is diverse as hell. Currency to Juvie to Mystical. So like you said, Jay Elect.
And we ain't even talk about just like some neighborhood favorites. C Murder, Meta X.
You know what, man? I'm going to say this and we're going to go.
Told You Fiend and Mac.
I think we were at the, we were over there at Fred's spot. And they were playing No Limit Soldiers over there on Metro.
No Limit Soldiers.
And C Murder's verse came up. And I'm sitting there listening to C Murder's verse. I'm like, he's the best rapper on this label, actually.
Yeah, before Mystical, he was.
Yeah, I'm sitting there listening to him
before
rap.
Mystical, C Murder's the best rapper on the label. Yeah.
I was like, yo, this guy sounds good, man.
So how about this? C Murder's album.
Yeah.
I forget which one. One of C Murder's albums.
Talking about not Life After Death, but shit. The one where you got the leg. Y'all help me in the chat.
I think, but C Murder's album before Unpredictable and Ghetto Dope was the best album No Limit had made too. And he was clearly the best rapper on No Limit before Mystical came along to me. But also too, like Soulja Slim hadn't come all the way up yet. That's kind of what happened. It's like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then of course, and this is what I mean, you know.
And we got to talk Fiend too. Yeah, Life or Death. That's what it was.
Life or Death.
Life or Death.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say after, but yeah.
Yeah, Fiend.
Well, I was listening to him, man. Yeah, Fiend.
There's one in every family?
Yeah.
Oh.
And Fiend has transitioned very well over time, too. Like, similar to what Currency was doing. Like, Fiend's changed up the whole sound. The diversity in New Orleans rap is crazy. Yeah. But, yeah, when I heard that No Limit Soldiers, like, as in 2023, I'm sitting there listening like, yeah, he the best rapper that they got outside of Mystical. Because he's kind of like a free agent acquisition.
So Wayne for the masses, Soulja Slim and Juvie for the neighborhood, some Mystical and BG and C Murder sprinkled in.
I would have to put Currency ahead of C Murder for the work.
Yeah.
But
Currency's there.
But as far as just sheer talent in a vacuum, man, C Murder's one of the better rappers to come out of that city.
And he has star power.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know, like, it's kind of funny. It's like his brother's the bigger star, but he was a comparable star and a better rapper.
Yeah.
So who would have knows what his career would have been?
C Murder could have done a lot more.
Because think about who would have been behind him.
Yeah.
His brother.
Yeah.
Think about the other things his brother's gotten behind. Imagine his brother being behind him. Because he's actually, because, I mean, and no knock to Silk the Shocker, but C Murder and Silk the Shocker, those might be his little brothers, but one is a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think C Murder chose to make street records similar to, in a way that Pusha T. Yeah.
Correct.
Where No Limit had all this crossover stuff. He was great at it. Silk was cool with the crossover stuff. You know what I'm saying? C Murder was great at the street shit.
Like Bout That?
Yeah.
Bentley's Little Hummus, Little Daddy, we Bout That?
Was that was Silk?
That's Silk.
I'm thinking about Let Me Hit It and that type of stuff that Silk had.
I
It
remember
ain't my
Let Me-
fault.
I remember Let Me Hit It.
Yeah,
It ain't my fault.
Yeah, Silk had the hits.
Oof.
But yeah, we're gonna get up out of here. Make sure y'all
That's a
hit like and
flashback. Oh my
subscribe.
God.
Right. We need to put the throwback playlist up. But yeah, make sure y'all hit like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you know when we're going live. We're gonna be doing Monday at noon, and we're gonna be doing Wednesday at 6. And we're gonna hit y'all with some short blurbs and everything throughout the week as well, just to keep you updated. And let us know, you know what I'm saying, what y'all want us to talk about too, if we're missing out on some things. I think we covered everything, right?
I think we did what we needed to do.
All right. A2HH Live, we're going to holler at y'all in a few.
Ron, what you wearing a Texas hat for? It's Atlanta Braves country. What is
Hey.
this nigga doing?
He got the A-Rod stuff going on. I got